ball, sends it over to Edward Robles. Go! Insert name FC! Let's go! Insert name FC! What is up, everybody? My name is Hector Flores, host of the Insert Name FC podcast, a member of the BellyUpSports Media Network. You can find us on all things podcasting from Apple, Pandora, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast fix on. You'll definitely find us there. You can also find clips from these episodes, video clips, from these episodes on our YouTube channel, Insert Name FC. Go ahead and check it out. Channel's growing pretty good on subscriber count, and I'm really excited. Obviously, please subscribe if you guys go ahead and check it out. We try to make it basic. I mean, you can watch there's the audio version available on the YouTube channel, but we also have them in clips, video clips, so that way you can maybe digest it a little bit easier than where we are. But yes, so this episode, man. So kind of how I mentioned last week, because of the fact that I will be so by the time this episode drops, I'll be preparing to go to El Salvador for 10 days. So I'll be there with family. And so because of that, we won't have an episode the following week, probably not even the week after, so probably 2 weeks of no episodes. So this episode will be a little bit longer than usual, just to give you guys the chance to maybe stop, and I'll probably even let you guys know when it probably could be the time to stop to so move on to to wait it for next week. But if not, I mean, digest it. But like I said, and then because we're previewing the 2024 Euro and the 2024 Copa America, the Euro will have Peter Spencer from BellyUp Fantasy, and the Copa America preview features Kelcey Coin and Jose Tejas from Golz TV. So we do have some good ones. I'm actually still trying to figure out how to organize this episode in a way, but I do think the way we're going to do it is we'll have the preview for the Euro. After this one, might have some soccer topics, discussions. Like I said, try to make this a little bit of a lengthier episode for you guys. So we'll probably have some headline topics to discuss. And no players of the week this week. I mean, obviously there's international friendlies going on, but just no players of the week this week. And then preview the 2024 Copa America and just wrap this show up. So I think that's probably going to be the format that we're going to go at. So we're going to have the preview for the 2024 Euro next, followed by then some headlines, and then the Copa America preview, and then we'll just wrap this show up in a pretty little bow for you guys. So I'm really excited to go to El Salvador, but I'm also really excited about this summer of soccer that we're going to be having with Copa America and the Euros. Also, Olympics happening in July. So there is at least some discussions there as well. So I really can't wait, man. It's going to be a pretty busy summer. And so I got to find a break when I can. And right now, this is the best shot at getting a break. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and take a break. You'll hear an ad, and then we'll go right into our preview for the 2024 Euros with Peter Spencer of BellyUp Fantasy. Let me tell you guys about BellyUpSports. BellyUpSports is the internet sports bar. Go ahead and check out their website, www.bellyupsports.com, to read some great articles from great writers all across the country, from hockey, baseball, golf, soccer, you name it. BellyUpSports is the premier, not your average website. All right, guys, We're going to talk about the 2024 Euro, which kicks off June 14th. So this Friday, as this episode has dropped already, the tournament will be starting. And joining us, who wanted to come on to talk Euro when we featured him for one of our draft segments, from Belly Up Fantasy, Peter. Also, the guy that called me out for being an asshole Arsenal fan. So happy to have you back, man.
Yeah, no, I mean, you know what? Even I wish I could say talk more trash about Arsenal right now, but I really can't. I mean, my team is not in any position to talk, so have to deal with it. But yeah, very excited for the Euros. Always a great time. Last tournament was incredible. Italy came out of nowhere, made England look like the bottlers they are. So very, very excited for the Euro 2024.
Yeah, last Euro, which I believe it was England was hosting it, correct?
It was weird because it was COVID, so it was a
Uh-huh.
bunch of different countries. So like they didn't really.
That's
So
right.
now it's like the first true, fan experience. And obviously we had the World Cup in 2024, but Qatar has like different rules and stuff. So this will be like the first, real big tournament with the Copa going simultaneously.
Yeah, definitely is. But obviously, before we ever start any of these soccer segments, and being that you are new to the soccer discussion part of Insert Name FC, we gotta at least let the fans know how Peter, what was it that got you into football, soccer, or however you want to call it?
Wow. I'd probably say growing up, my dad was from Amsterdam. So overall, we were always watching soccer, men's field hockey too. If you look at the Dutch field hockey team, it's crazy. That's like the one gold Olympic thing they always win. But for soccer, I've always just been into it because of him. He was always my coach. And yeah, I love the Dutch from day one. Watched Johan Cruyff highlights with him, all that. And then my brother brought me he got me even more obsessed with it. He started coaching me as well. So I've just been playing since I've been like in fourth, third grade. It's just been in my blood. And like, sadly, Tottenham, and actually not sadly, Tottenham is in my blood too. But I got that from my brother as well because that was the first team he cheered for club wise. So that's the situation we're in. But yeah, no, I love the game. And I coach today too. I coach kids. So yeah, I love giving back because I got so much given back to me. It's been awesome.
Yeah, and I mean the Dutch. I mean, I always say like such a strong team. It's crazy when you think about as far as World Cup success where the Netherlands land. But like, and honestly, if you would have told me, if I like going in blindly and you told me the Netherlands has yet to win a World Cup, I'd be shocked because I
It's
mean
yeah,
the history of what that country has brought. I mean, literally one of the greatest football minds ever in Johan Cruyff. I mean, the guy literally built up two academies. So I mean, yeah, it's amazing, and it's also crazy to think, like I said, legends on legends that have come out of the Netherlands.
yeah. I mean, yeah. Johan Cruyff, obviously, those days are insane. But then losing the final to Spain, like, what are you gonna do? That was the greatest Spanish team of all time, maybe one of the greatest teams of all time overall. Just tough it went the way it did. I still remember the breakaways that Robben missed that game.
Yeah, I mean, and especially a guy like him, that guy is definitely class, in all definitions of it. Unless you're Mexican, and then obviously you hate that man.
Yeah, I know.
Uh,
You have every reason to hate him. No.
respectively so, but I do love to troll as much as I can.
Yeah, you got every reason to hate him.
I definitely do. Um, but obviously, in the last Euro, which it seems obviously it's 4 years ago, but it seems so far long, especially when you think of the pandemic that also coincided with it. But there was obviously one team that ended up winning the hearts of everybody in the Euro. Obviously, with it being Denmark, and it was for very unfortunate reasons for that to happen. Um, Praying that that doesn't happen this time around. I think we've been able to move on. I believe the defibrillator initiative has been established now for European competitions. But what do you think would be that team to watch as far as the hearts and minds come into play? Like where's the country in this tournament that you think could be that team, that lovable team?
Yeah, so I've been looking at the odds like throughout the days and whatnot, and I'm trying to stay away from like, the top eight teams, which are England, France, Germany, Spain, Portugal, Italy, Belgium, Netherlands. So I'm gonna stick away from that top eight. If there's a team that I kind of like, I really like Serbia. They're in a very interesting group too. I believe they are in the same group as Portugal, if I'm not mistaken. I'm missing the other two teams, Portugal, Turkey. Forgetting the last team top of mind right now. But that I think they're Serbia, they have the strikers in Vlahovic and Mitrovic. I kind of really liked them last World Cup too. They just happened to be in a terrible, terrible group in the sense that they were in a group of death with, I believe, Brazil, South Korea, and the fourth team was like I think Ghana, not Ghana, Cameroon. But I really like Serbia. They also have Slavic in the central midfield position. And I think they're the team that can make that run because Mitrovic, we've seen him score. Vlahovic, we've seen him score. They get big time goals in big games. Vlahovic, if I'm not mistaken, won Copa Italia in the final. He got the game winning goal. And he's just been, I trust their strikers. And just outside that top eight, and the next two, obvious one, but I don't really count them as a dark horse anymore, is Croatia. But just odds wise, they're considered a dark horse and they're always going to do their thing. But just looking at the odds, if I was to choose a team like not in that upper echelons, I like Serbia to make it to the knockout round and maybe get someone in trouble depending on who they play in the next round. Like if they get a Belgium as a group winner in the next round, I don't trust Belgium. I mean, I think they could be the team on upset alert early, even though they win their group because it's not that great.
Yeah, you mentioned that obviously for the Euro, it's obviously top two teams advance to the knockout round, but also the four best third place teams. And I
Yes.
mean, when you think of Serbia, I think that that's definitely that in that spot. I mean, I think they can sniff their way into into that second spot. I think their group is in that's a very even competition.
Yeah.
Besides being with England in there,
Oh, that's
um,
my mistake. Yep.
I think that's a very good group that you could come at least get out an automatic spot. But I think even with that, I think they get enough points to get into that the best of four third place teams as well. So yeah, Serbia is a good one. Croatia, I think. I mean, as far as teams to watch and like teams to love and adore, I mean, Croatia's obviously you got Luka Modric, one of the hardest people in the world to hate on. Um, unless
Legend.
unless you're just a obnoxious Madrista who thought that that was the dumbest purchase of all time. I didn't think that. But obviously Luka Modric, greatest story of all time. You're talking about his whole, just from him or his early roots to now where he's at. And like I said many times on this podcast, the man's found the fountain of youth. You can't tell me otherwise, man. Because
He's incredible. It's
uh,
just so Tottenham. He is the most decorated Madrid player ever after leaving Tottenham with zero trophies at 27. Just so tough.
yeah. So I mean, Croatia obviously is definitely a team to watch because I mean, I said this for the World Cup. This could be, the last time we see Luka Modric with Croatia. I was wrong. So, I mean, at this point, I'm just gonna say maybe, might be the last time we see him with Croatia. I don't know how well he's gonna be playing at 42, but I mean, we don't know. So, but I definitely would say Croatia's that team, at least to like be the lovable team that everyone. And plus, they play such an amazing style of football. It's
Perisic is back too, even though he tore his ACL. Like he's back. I think he got an assist in the friendly the other day versus I forget who they played in a friendly, but it was a good friendly that they won. I think it was Portugal. They beat Portugal in a friendly.
Yeah, and actually, speaking of Portugal, not saying that this is a team that might be featured here, but when you think of these tournaments, there's always that one country that I mean probably needs something positive for them, maybe kind of coming off a rough streak or something like that. But just when you think of a team that needs a good Euro, and a good Euro doesn't mean having to win the whole thing, but just needs to get some wins to get back their credibility. I think you kind of mentioned them earlier, but I don't know if that would be your pick. But who's that team that needs a really good performance on the Euro?
So when I think of really good performance, I'm picturing, making the quarters and maybe losing in PKs tough fashion or making the semis. Like I think that's a good performance. And I think the obvious choice in my eyes, just because they were a train wreck in the last two World Cups, and then they lost their biggest rivals in the Euros, the last World Cup or last Euro Cup is Germany. They need to make the semis. If they don't make it, that's a bad, bad, bad look. They have all the talent in the world right now. They have great, great players. They have a good young coach in Nagelsmann. They're the home country. And to be completely honest, you lost to England at Wembley, so it's not a bad loss. But people were expecting, okay, Germany's back a little bit. They were in the group of death that year with Portugal, Hungary, and France, but they still made it out. They had England. I mean, usually Germany has England's number. And then the following World Cup, they didn't get out of their group because it was what, Spain and Japan? Yeah, Spain and Japan got out. And the World Cup before that, after winning the World Cup, they didn't get out again. So that's three massive tournaments in a row that Germany is disappointed in on the world stage. That's not okay in Germany because you look at the previous three before that, winners of the final. Semi-final run in 2010, lost to the eventual winners Spain. 2006, they lost in the semis to Italy. 2002, they lost in the final to Brazil. Like this is a Germany is one of the most respectable football international just countries and that we've probably ever I've already laid my eyes on, I've ever have. But yeah, I think Germany has to do something.
Yeah, I think Germany is a very good pick. Um, you mentioned them earlier when we were talking about the teams to watch, and but not in a positive way, but Belgium.
Right.
I think that's
Yeah.
a team that desperately needs like a good Euro. Obviously, Kevin De Bruyne called them old during the World Cup. Um, and which I mean, that's exactly how they looked. Lukaku has had a massive fall off since going to Manchester United, and hasn't really bounced back to this point where even Jose Mourinho, his guy, doesn't even want him at Fenerbahce. So I think with the mix of players, you know, it's going to be interesting because Courtois will not be featured with Belgium at all. I know the argument was for his ACL injury, but apparently he was being a little bit petty for not being captain. I don't know. Courtois does not seem like that kind of person, though he did also sleep with Kevin De Bruyne's girlfriend back in the
Yeah,
day.
that's
So I mean, you can I don't know. But I think Belgium they need something positive, especially how they performed that last World Cup. Um, yeah, I think Belgium is a team that maybe for them a good Euro would be getting out of the group and at least getting out of the round of 16. Kind of I guess kind of how you mentioned, at least get into penalties and losing penalties. But I think Belgium is in desperate need of a positive Euro.
just they are. I just can't see them doing it. I mean, their group is really, really bad though. So they could easily win their group. And I just looking at their path, and if they win their group, which is not a great group one bit, I believe the teams are in their group, Slovakia, Romania, Ukraine. Like that, they should go 3-0 in that group no matter what. And if they go 3-0 in that group, then they play the third place team in group A, B, C, or D. So that's an easy one for them. So I feel like, yeah, round of 16 winners make the quarterfinals would be a big, big improvement.
Yeah, especially if the pathway is as clear as it should be. So
Yeah.
all right. Now we got to talk about the spoiler teams, the dark horse teams in this tournament. When you think of a team that could shake things up, maybe ruin a heavy favorite's chances at winning a Euro, what's that team for you that you feel that could be that spoiler?
So when I think dark horse, I'm thinking a team, again, they could make a semifinal run almost. And you're like, wow, that came out of nowhere. Or a quarterfinal run and like beat, a Germany, England, a France, or a Spain. Who can do that? Like, as we saw, dark horse last time was Italy, right? Like that came not out of nowhere. They were obviously one of the more respected nations, but no one thought they were going to really win the Euros. And this year, and obviously I'm being a homer, but I really think if you just look at their starting lineup, and if you just look at how they played today, obviously devastating news with Frankie De Jong being out for the Euros. But if you just look at today's game and their game versus Canada, the Dutch today's game they played Iceland, won 4-0, should have been 5-0. Very VAR call. Game before, I think they beat Canada 4-0 or 4-1. But the Dutch look good. And the thing is that really helps them, especially in tournament play. Everyone knows this in tournament play, similar to the Champions League, what wins it? Best defense. The Dutch might have the best defense in the world. If you just look top, like their back four, they get to choose, obviously. They'll have Van Dijk, they'll have Dumfries, I think they're going to start, and just because he's a cheat code with speed at outside back, I think they're going to start Mickey Van de Ven there. And I think his speed is going to be crucial in these games versus like a France where you have a Dembele on that side. You have Denzel Dumfries on an Mbappe late in a tournament. And again, Van Dijk, center back. And then their other center back is what? Ake, De Vrij, De Ligt. You have so much to choose from. And then that front, like inside of that front four of attackers, Coop Myers will probably start at center mid. I don't know who's going to replace. Oh no, Wijnaldum will be there, so he'll start at center mid as well. And Wijnaldum in international plays great. Then you look in front of that, right? That's Xavi Simons, and he had his first Dutch goal today, which was awesome to see. Then you have Gakpo at striker, Depay on the wing, Frimpong on the wing, or anything like that. Similarly, that team just talent wise. That's a really talented team. And I think at plus 1600 with the eighth best odds, and I saw their path a little bit. If they get second in the group, they play a team and they also play, if they get second in the group, they play whoever got second in France's group. Or not France's group, sorry. Whoever got second in Portugal's group. If they get first in the group, they get whoever got second in Belgium's group. And there aren't really any like other net like heavyweights in those groups. I believe with Portugal and I believe with Belgium. There are no other heavyweights in that group. So Dutch win that game, then they're in the quarterfinals. And if they're in the quarterfinals, I trust them. I trust them in a tournament like this. I think the Dutch could get hot. And then people are like, wow. Similar to last Euros, they did play really well. They just shit the bed versus Czech Republic. But yeah, I trust the Dutch.
Yeah, the Dutch was actually gonna be my pick as well. Everything that you stated, I mean, arguably the best defense. I know the Italians are gonna try to make an argument, but the thing is, you guys
Yeah,
have
and that's
guys that are
fair.
not proven yet because of just the fact that you've been spoiled with Bonucci and Chiellini for so many years. So I mean, exciting backline, but still unproven in some sense. And I think when you talk about the defense wins championships, that's what everybody talks about, and it does apply in football as well. And I think that when you see what they can do defensively, and on top of that that attacking threat, and I think this is going to be the we're going into the season where people are going to recognize Xavi Simons. He's been quietly kind of getting up there, right? Getting his credentials
I
and
think
everything like
looks
that.
by Bayern, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah,
in the transfer market.
which I he needs to get out of PSG. So if that and Bayern, I mean, I said Leipzig needs to do whatever they need to do to get him back there. But if Bayern gets him, um, I mean, we'll see what Vincent Company does with that team.
Just don't
But
want to stunt the growth. I'd rather him at Leipzig again if that's the case. Just keep him playing all the time because it's beautiful to watch. It's always awful when these young guys like even like Sancho a couple of years ago just forced him went to Man U, didn't work out. Keep the young guy alone for a little bit, let him figure it out.
yeah, because also you're talking about competing with Jamal Musiala and Thomas Mueller is still going to be in the conversation. So not the ideal location, at least for Xavi Simons. But Xavi Simons, I feel like we're going to see a a master class from him and kind of give you those old Dutch vibes of those kind of playmakers playing that 10 role. I believe is what he will be
We
playing.
needed that too. We really needed that, especially with Depay as he was like our best offensive player. He's now become maybe our fourth best offensive player behind Gakpo, Frimpong, Simmons. Like it's a big improvement since the World Cup, which was only a year and a half ago. I believe.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, Netherlands I think is the clear dark horse team. Come at me if you want, man, but that is exactly who they are.
I love it.
Um,
I'm going to Netherlands, France. So that's going to be if they somehow get a result there, I think that's. And last thing about the Dutch, but I promise no more Dutch talk after this. But their back line, one thing, anyone on that back line can score or assist. Like they're not just
set
defensive
piece
guys.
threats
If you
is
have
exactly.
Ake, Van Dijk on headers, Mickey can have the ball. Mickey can also score a couple goals, and Dumfries obviously is what he does at Inter is all about scoring and assisting.
I agree. Uh, we kind of mentioned Xavi Simons. Well, I'll refrain from using it, but if you want to use them, it's all fine with me. But the player to watch in this tournament, who is the player that is going to have that standout in this tournament?
So, player that comes out of nowhere, I
Comes out of
believe,
nowhere or just is to you is going to be the man of the tournament.
player of the tournament. Um, I would say. Player of the tournament. I really think, I mean, the easy choice, obviously, I thought Simmons, but if I had to go stray away from him, a guy that you're not really as familiar with, maybe watching, I think Florian Wirtz is going to have a great tournament. I
That's a
I
that's
think
a good name.
I think he is a great player, and as we said, I really think Germany plays really well this uh Euro Cup. I think after, the two favorites, England and France, I think in order my favorites are going to be Germany and then the Dutch because I think they have just some with that defense can do something crazy. But I do think Wirtz is going to be that key as he was for Leverkusen all year long. He's a winner. Nagelsmann is going to make him the prime part of that attack with Musiala up there. He's going to have Musiala next to him, which is awesome. And I just think there's Nsane and Gnabry. That team is dangerous, and I really think he is going to be the key, the engine that gets it going. And I'm missing, sorry, your guy on Arsenal. I'll give him some respect. Havertz has had a great season, so he'll probably start.
I mean, better than last year, but I mean, it's better than when he was with Chelsea last year. I'd say that the year
Yeah,
before,
but
but
either way, I think that is a great setup. I think Germany's going to be good. I really do. I think Wirtz is going to be that guy that people are going to remember his name. I think he's going to be one of the guys that comes out of this, and you're going to see Bayern is going to put a bid in for him, which, as you said, which is why Simons is not the ideal option. Because if you're Wirtz, the Germans like to say in Germany primarily, other than like a couple, like Cruz, Ballack back in the day, um, Schweinsteiger, obviously. I just think that that's going to be the team that gets him, Bayern Munich. And yeah, I think Wirtz is going to have a great Euro Cup.
yeah, yeah, that's a good one. Um, I'm gonna go to Spain with my player. Um, it's crazy to think that there's gonna be just not only in the Europe but also in Copa America, we're gonna see some youngins out here
Um,
making names for themselves. And this kid, I think if it wasn't for this kid, I think Barcelona would have been in a deeper hole than what they had this year, despite finishing in second place. But Lamine Yamal, I mean, people have tried to discredit this kid. That you guys are overhyping a 16-year-old. I think I was like, well, this 16-year-old has proven himself not only in La Liga and even in Champions League competition, but he's also proving himself internationally. Has been called up with Spain. I think we're gonna start seeing a little bit more from him. We're talking about potentially a ridiculous generation of ballers coming out of the woodwork, with the likes of Lamine Yamal, talking about Xavi Simons, maybe a little bit on the older side of them, but still in that same age group. Endrick, how he turns out over in Copa America and how
I
he
cannot
does.
wait to watch him start. And I feel bad for my guy Richie because that job's never coming back to him.
Yeah. Uh, but yeah,
Once Andre gets his hands on that, it's done.
yeah, there's a lot of young players that are just unreal, and Brazil keeps popping them out, man. That's the other thing that's been crazy. It's like first we hear Endrick, oh, there's this other guy that's playing in Palmeiras, or this other kid in Flamengo. Brazil just calm down for a little bit. Like let's
Embarrassment of riches. Embarrassment of riches. I think they have to win the Copa too. And I think those guys are gonna be hungry. But that's for another day, maybe.
Yeah, but Lamine Yamal, man, I think he's going to be a talisman for Spain. I think he plays to the core of what you expect from Spanish football. Obviously, precision passing, the tiki taka, which obviously originates from total football, which was created by the Dutch.
Yeah.
Um,
It all comes back to the Dutch.
it all comes back to the Dutch. But I mean, because Spain, a lot of interesting pieces of how Spain's going to perform. Obviously, when you have guys like Pedri, hopefully Gavi is able to be healthy enough. I don't know if he was called up. But I'm assuming he is. But Ferran Torres, I mean, Joselu, just having an amazing year that he gets called up by Spain, just by default, I guess. I guess that also makes you wonder about the ninth spot in Spain. But all in all, man, I think Lamine Yamal is going to be the guy that can really make things happen, especially coming off the wings. So I'm expecting him to have a very amazing tournament and get his name more out there for the world to see.
And Spain's always, I mean, it's gonna be tough to figure out who's gonna like this is gonna be a crazy tournament because Spain at any given point can just outpossess a team so much and they just look like they're not going to let up any single goals, and they just need to tap one in. And that almost happened versus Italy. And then Chiesa, I believe, scored to tie it. Or maybe it was he scored first, but either way, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I definitely agree. But all right, let's do these group predictions. We'll just pick the first and second place winner. I'm not expecting you to go full prediction mode here. But all right, looking at Group A, we have Germany, Scotland, Hungary, and Switzerland. I think this is pretty straightforward. I would say Germany with the home field advantage because we've seen what happens when Germany is the host nation. They go pretty far. So I would expect Germany to win this group outright. My second place team is Switzerland. Shaqiri looks like shit in the MLS, but somehow when you put that Swiss jersey on him, he becomes the guy that we all thought he was going to be. So yeah, so I think Switzerland finishes in second as well.
So you said Switzerland, Scotland, Germany, and who was the fourth? Hungary?
Hungary.
I'm gonna go Germany and Scotland. I Scotland has had a really good year. If you look at some of their players individually, like John McGinn, McTominay, maybe not for United, but for Scotland, I think he led the Euro qualifiers in goals. Andy Robertson is a good player as well. I think Scotland can make a run here.
That's a good. I mean, I was actually conflicted between Switzerland and Scotland.
I think,
So
yeah, I think Switzerland. I will also say Hungary. Like, just I think this is an interesting group that those three more than people would think because Hungary could Salvador has he's a different player internationally. You can see obviously he's great at Liverpool, but he gets a lot more goals when he plays for Hungary. So we'll see. It's gonna be interesting, but Scotland,
yeah, I think it's Group A is a very interesting group. We might have to start putting some respect on Hungary, for sure when we see them on
because
opening.
they play Switzerland first game. Like, do not be surprised if Hungary beats Switzerland.
That's a good shout. That's a good shout. But all right. Group B, we this is the when the groups were drawn, everybody was saying this is the group of death. I kind of disagree to some extent, but I also understand it. Spain, Croatia, Italy, and Albania. I mean, it is going to be tough, but I think that this will be the group that we see three teams come out of. Um,
They definitely will. They'll get that third.
they'll definitely
And
get that third.
yeah, I think we both agree. I think we're both going to agree on his first. Maybe I'm mistaken, but I'm going to go Spain first.
I agree.
And second,
This is going to be tricky, but I'm going to say Italy because they do have something to prove. They do have a lot of doubters because of the fact that,
missed the World
which is
Cup. Yeah.
crazy, they won the Euro, but you're also talking about a team that didn't qualify for the World Cup for the second time in a row. And so they're definitely going to try to prove some doubters wrong. I think Croatia, we're finally going to start seeing an age effect. Don't get me wrong. There is a exciting group of young Croatian players that are also going to get mixed into this core of older players. But Italy has a big chip on their shoulder, and I think that they're going to at least get some separation between Croatia and either being through goal differential or something. But I do think that Italy ends up finishing in second.
So that's, I think, the one we disagree with. I think Italy will get out, and I think Croatia will get out, but I think Croatia gets second. I really like Modric still. Guardiola is great. Their goalie in the World Cup was outstanding. And I think and I'm not going to, Perisic coming off an ACL. In the friendly, they played a good amount of Portugal starters. They won it. I mean, obviously it's just a friendly, not the same thing, but I think they just got great players. Like they have a good team and they all know how to gel together. I don't know when that's going to really, really, really change because they still have the same manager. And the World Cup was so soon. Like, if you think about it, just because it was a Winter World Cup and it was just it was not that far behind, or far ago rather, where that they might have some momentum almost. I don't know why. I just like Croatia. I kind of think that don't sleep on them like losing to like drawing versus Italy and then somehow beating Spain or something. Like something, I don't know, interesting. Do they play? They play the first day. Versus Spain, I believe. Yeah. Or not first day, second day. They're plus 330. I think Spain minus 110 is definitely my pick. I think that'll be my pick for match week one. I think they'll win that game, but I'm a little scared.
All right. I like how we picked the winner of the group we don't disagree with is the second place team. We've been at differences. In Group C, we have Slovenia, Denmark, Serbia, and England. I think this is a very wide open group. Um, I mean, despite the one spot, but I do
Yes.
think that this is a very open group that we could see anything happen here, and I do think that we're going to see a third place team out of this group as well. I mean, there's only six groups, so I mean, you're gonna see some,
Yeah, so
but
yeah, 4 out of 6 get third place teams. So I think we'll see later on Belgium and Portugal are probably gonna be our groups that don't get it.
yeah. Um, but yeah, so with me, England outright, I don't think there's any disagreement here of England. They should be winning this group. And then for me, second is going to be Serbia. I think that there is a lot of stock rising for Serbia right now. Uh, Great team, and there's something about these like European teams, kind of like Slovenia and Serbia, and from that region, that there's just
Eastern Europe, yeah.
yeah, that there's just a dog mentality with this team. So defensively, I'm not worried about them. Denmark, I do have a lot of questions about them. I do see them as that third place team for me. Slovenia, it sucks because I do love Jan Oblak. Like I think he's one of the best goalkeepers in the world. I mean, he's been dipping a little bit, but still has been prime and solid regardless. But his national team is just not good. So but I think Serbia will be finishing second in this group.
Yeah, no, I'm completely on board on that one. I mean, you heard me earlier. I think when we said teams that might surprise, I think Serbia, like they got goal scorers, they got Slavic in the middle. I'm probably missing their defense a little bit, but as you said, they got that dog mentality. And yeah, I think Denmark just had a good Euros. I don't really see them repeating that success this time around. Yeah, I'm gonna go Serbia. But
All right,
Denmark for third.
all right, there, yeah. So same page. All right, Group D, we have Poland, the Netherlands, Austria, and France. I say this is the group of death, because there's a lot of good teams here. Poland is a very sneaky team, and so is Austria. Probably finally going to get to watch Ralph Ragnick again coach. Uh, let's just ignore what happened with Manchester United, and just go back to the days of the Bundesliga. Yeah, for this one, I mean, I'll ask you this: do you think this is as clear as it is for France in this group?
No, and the only reason I say that, only reason, is because they've beaten. So if people don't know, the Dutch and France were in the same Euro qualifiers group. So they played a couple times already, and the Dutch lost both games. They were very close games, 1 goal games. Like, is this the time when the Dutch maybe not sneak up on them because the Dutch aren't sneaking up on them, but are the Dutch maybe better where they just might come out of nowhere and like I don't know. I think the Dutch I wouldn't sleep on them. Like I don't think it's as big of a favorite as it should be. Like I think the Dutch could easily get a result versus France and then it's goal differential, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I think then you just don't know at that point. Like maybe I think the Dutch could get a result versus France and then win on goal differential because I do think Dutch play Poland, I think no, Austria on Sunday. But yeah, I mean, my opinion, I think the Dutch are going to get one here. I think they're going to get their result. They somehow always seem to do this in groups like this too, right? Like, was it the 2014 World Cup? It was they were in the group of death with Spain and Chile, and they just bamboozled Spain the first match.
Mm-hmm.
Van Persie's header, 5-1. Dutch let up the first goal in that game too. Like, and then I think in the 2018, not World Cup, was it World? Maybe they didn't make the 2018. No, they missed the 2018 World Cup, but 2014 they did that. I'm like, I don't know. I think the Dutch and 2008 Euro Cup, sorry, they were in the same group as Italy and France, who were just in the World Cup, and they won that group. So this isn't going to be like new territory in the sense that that mentality, and the Dutch always have that mentality, right? Like they're one of the best teams out there, but they're not treated like a great yet because they don't have that World Cup, and they're hungry. They're always hungry for a trophy.
No, yeah, you're right about that, and I actually agree. I actually think the Dutch can come out and win the group. Um,
And
I,
either way, I don't think it's going to matter too much because, as I said, the pass for both, like they both first and second play a second place winner of two. Like I think both France and Netherlands can both make runs. So
yeah, I mean France is gonna be a strong team. I think they're just going up against another strong team as well, and that's where anything could happen. And so this isn't me saying, "Oh, France sucks," but I think it just any given moment, anything could end differently. But I think that the Dutch will win the group, and France comes out in second, and my
I
team
agree.
to finish in third.
This is
Um,
interesting. I'm excited to hear what you say because I saw some lines on who they have as the favorite to qualify. So I'm curious who you say.
um, is so because of the fact that they are not going to have Alaba, it does kind of discourage me with Austria. And I mean Poland. I mean, is this the Robert Lewandowski swan song? Which I mean, he played like shit this year. So I mean,
It
it's like
has to be
it's a
eventually,
real like
right?
either way kind of thing. Like it's like not both of them have their weaknesses. Like which one can overcome the other. Um, but I think Poland's always had this mentality where it kind of just doesn't matter. I don't know what it is about it. And Austria also kind of it's like it almost even. It's like oh man, yeah, I'm going with Poland. I think Poland gets that third place
So
spot.
I agree on that. And it's interesting you say that because they are like one of the only teams, because 16 out of 24 make it out, right? So only 8 teams miss. They're one of the teams that has plus odds, meaning they're like one of the teams that people think are going to be bottom 8, I guess. And I kind of like them to get out of the group at plus 130. I think that's a good play. Like I think they could get a result versus the Dutch or France. I mean, obviously it just comes down to them versus Austria. Like, do Austria or Poland get a result, I guess, versus France and the Dutch? Like, do they somehow go at do the Dutch and France almost overlook? Does one of them overlook match week one because they have the other one coming in?
I think it's hard, man, when you're talking about. I think it goes all the way down to at games like that when it comes to Netherlands and France. Um, it's gonna go down to tactics, like who has the better prep work, who knows the opposing team better than the other. And you're talking about some really good minds, like some really good coaching minds in football when it comes to Netherlands and France and Austria. Like I said my piece on Ralph Ragnick, and I really do respect him as a manager. The man has, if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have a Jurgen Klopp, we wouldn't have a Hansi Flick, or even a Thomas Tuchel where they are now in their careers. So yeah, but even then, I just think that what the Netherlands have, and even with Deschamps, I mean, I think they're just a bit better than Ragnick right now.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
So that's where I stand. I think it's for me. Are you with Netherlands and France for this group?
Sorry, what did you say?
I mean, are you picking Netherlands and France? Is that
Oh
your
yeah, yeah. Netherlands, then France. Yep.
all right? Group E. I mean, all right, Belgium, Slovakia, Romania, and Ukraine. Like, I mean, all right, if Belgium doesn't win this group, the golden generation's over. I mean, I think it's been over, but
They might be terrible then.
yeah, it really was that golden generation, and they literally did nothing with it. Not a Euro, no World Cup. Like their highlight was beating Tim Howard, if you really want to think about it, and the
That's
Guy Fieri jerseys.
And if they lost in the World Cup final, so be it. But it's also tough for them because they, I believe, lost to France off a corner kick. And if they beat France, they play Croatia. Like, it would have been crazy. I think Belgium or Croatia would have been a World Cup winner.
Yeah, that would have been completely insane. So Belgium should finish in first, and then my team for second is Ukraine. Um, not for anything that's going on currently in Ukraine. It's more so I've watched this team play, and they are a solid team. Their passing is very good. I know Zinchenko is obviously the one name that everyone thinks of. Also, Ukraine has La Liga's top goal scorer as well. So he had a very solid year with Girona. I'm not trying to say his name because I'm going to butcher it. So, but we know his name. We know who he is. So I mean, Ukraine definitely has some players, some very Lunin, who has won my heart over at Real Madrid. So Ukraine has a very solid team. Um, I just don't know enough about Slovakia and Romania, but I also know that there's reasons as to why I don't know much about Slovakia and Romania.
Yeah, I think actually, you know what? I will definitely go Belgium. I'm gonna go Romania second just because of my guy Dragusin on
Okay,
Tottenham. Only reason I feel like I'm interested to see them, and I think that's a group where it's like you don't really know who's gonna get second.
that's true. I think that's
Like
a fair point.
it could be. I really have no idea. I think Belgium will 100% get first, but two, three, four, no idea.
Yeah, that's a fair point. And then the final group, Group F, we have Turkey, Georgia, Portugal, and the Czech Republic. I think this is a very like even group in some sense, besides just Portugal. But I think that this is actually a really good group. I think it's going to be a fun group to watch to see how they match up against each other. And honestly, man, you can easily catch Portugal slipping. So I mean, also keep an eye on what goes on with Portugal. Obviously, the speculation is that Cristiano Ronaldo will be on the team, but he will be mostly on the bench. So
Interesting. I'm going to Portugal versus Turkey when I'm over there, so I hope he starts. But yeah, I mean, I'm not shocked if he doesn't. Like
I mean, the World Cup, he was on the bench for some of the games.
different
Uh,
manager, obviously, but yeah, we'll see.
yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how Portugal goes about it. But when I look at this, man, I mean, Czech Republic also a very strong team. I mean, Schick, a Bayer Leverkusen star, in my opinion. Uh, Georgia, I mean, you have the Georgian Messi. We need to stop donning these guys that nickname. That's just been a kiss of death for careers. And Turkey, I mean, Turkey's always to me a very sturdy team, very solid performances. Um, Trash uniforms. That's the only thing that I can really say much for them. They have Guler, obviously that had his first year with Real Madrid. But obviously all focus is probably going to be on him because he plays for Real Madrid, unfortunately. Uh, but when I look at this group, man, I'm actually going to say Czech Republic is going to win this group and Portugal is going to finish in second. I think that there's still some growing pains with this Portugal team. But it is a strong team. I think they're gonna have a slip up. That slip up, in my opinion, is gonna be a draw against Czech Republic. And I think Czech Republic with Peter Schick at striker could probably have a big game against either Georgia and Turkey that can get them up above in goal differential.
I agree on the teams out, disagree on the order. I think Portugal is going to be. I think they're going to shit pump Georgia. I think that's going to be like that screams Ronaldo gets a hat trick, makes it all about himself, like 6-1 win. And then they could tie Czech Republic, but I really like Portugal. They got a lot of good pieces. The pieces are all there. Ruben Diaz in the back. Obviously, you got Cancelo. You got Fernandez in central midfield. You got Bernardo Silva. You got Leao. I'm definitely missing other Portuguese. João Felix. I'm missing a bunch, but I also love Roberto Martinez. Obviously, he didn't get it done with Belgium, but he took them places when he was their manager.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with all those things. I think it's because I think it's more to a fault to me. I overly hype Portugal's generation when with Leao, with Bruno Fernandes. I hyped them up a little too hard, where I thought that this was going to be the next France, which I was wrong. France was going to be the next France because they also are just shit pumping a bunch of just a bunch of young players coming out of there too. So I mean, they're just like basically countering Brazil right now is just France and Brazil, which is funny because it's the two countries that are mostly playing for Real Madrid right now is France and Brazil. So yeah, I think it's just because I kind of like been waiting for this generation of Portuguese players to finally stand out. And maybe it is if you bench Cristiano Ronaldo and you see what these guys look like without him. Maybe we'll see what we're hoping to see. But I think but I mean you still have Cristiano Ronaldo who's still killing it. I mean, yes, Saudi Arabia, but still killing it
He can find
nonetheless.
back from that.
But
He can find the back of the net
hmm,
still, right? Like he's fine. I trust Ronaldo to find the back of the net. I don't think it matters if they start him at striker or not. Why not start him? I mean, I don't think Ramos is that much better if he is. So
Yeah, I mean, when you look at Gonzalo Ramos, I mean, you would argue he took a dip from where he was to now where he's playing with PSG, but I don't think that's his fault. It's just what PSG, that the problem, kind of like how we were mentioning with Xavi Simons if he goes to Bayern Munich. You're going into a team that has already multiple guys that play your same position. So and it's kind of tough sometimes when that case happens. Maybe we're going to see more Gonzalo Ramos this coming season for PSG, being that Mbappe is now gone. But um, maybe this could kickstart him to get back in form. So that's always the discussion. But no, I'm not against what you're saying about Portugal winning. Um, I would like some things to change up a bit sometimes. But I do like Czech Republic. I think they're still a very solid team. But all right, before we talk about betting odds for you, um, who is your heavy favorite to win the Euro?
if I'm gonna go one team, I'm gonna go England. I know it's just like a weird choice, but they've really had I think Southgate's last run. Harry Maguire's not in there, so I think it opens it up to guys that maybe deserve that spot in the past. Jude is Jude. Foden is player of the year in the Prem this year. Kane was the best player in Europe, or arguably, not obviously, but arguably the best player in Europe. And Saka, and I just think this is their year.
That is a good pick. And to do it in Germany, I feel like a lot of the Englishmen would love all the lads would like to see them win it in Germany for some weird reason. Um, nah, that's a good pick.
Is
I,
the a cop out pick though, right? They're the favorite, but it's either them or France. I think is the if I'm gonna choose a heavy favorite, which is I guess them, France, Germany, and Spain. But I don't really.
I mean the real boring pick would be France. I mean, just to say that the team that came off of probably one of the most exciting World Cup finals against Argentina, where it was the highest scoring game that anybody's ever seen in a World Cup. Um, that could be the route to go, but I do think with the crowd behind them, with the team that they have, with the manager that they have, I think Germany. It's just everything's falling in line perfectly for Germany to finally have their bounce back, especially of how they did in the previous World Cups. Um, this could be where everything just clicks for Germany, and depending on how their path to the final goes, I think that this German team is very much proven. And I mean, there is a swan song that's happening for Germany as well. We're talking about Tony Cruz's final tournament. This is it for him. Like that's it. We're not going to see him anymore. We're not going to see him with those old cleats that he has. Like this is going to be the last time we see Tony Cruz playing the game ever again. I
What a way to
and
go
so
out that would be.
talk about a storybook ending for a player if he's able to win out his league title, win the Champions League, and then win the fucking Euro would be insane. But I do think Germany has the team to do it.
Yeah, no, good shout. I like that pick.
But all right. I am a betting man, but I also am terrible at betting. So I thought it'd be great to have the guy from Belly of Fantasy to talk up some good betting odds for the potential degenerate gamblers. Obviously, if you guys have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. But Peter, is there any good juicy odds that you're feeling could be good for the Euros?
I like the Dutch to make the or semifinals plus 300, and then the Dutch to make the quarterfinals plus 130. I told you about their path earlier. I also like Spain to win versus Croatia match week one, minus 110. And I also like Turkey to beat Georgia minus 130, match week one.
Okay. That's gonna be some good stuff, man. So make sure you guys put your odds in there, put some money in there. Makes things. I will say when you put some money on the game, it does become more personal for somebody. So it is a very solid. But yeah, the Euros kicks off this Friday, June 14th. We're gonna watch Scotland versus Germany at 2 p.m. And just be careful that that's at 2 p.m. because things start getting a little bit earlier when it comes to this tournament, especially. Well, not for you, Peter, because you'll be over there in
I'll be
Europe.
there. Yeah, I'll be hyped.
So make sure you guys prepare accordingly, sleep accordingly, because it is going to be a fun summer of soccer. Not only we have the Euros that are kicking off, and obviously in the following week we'll have Copa America as well. So it's going to be, and then after that we got the Olympics. There is some soccer in the Olympics, and U.S. men's national team are finally going to be in it after I don't know how long. So
Will be interesting.
lots of soccer, man. Peter, thank you so much for coming on, man. Tell the good people where they can find you and tell us what's going on with Belly Up Fantasy.
Yeah, you can find me on at Belly Up Fantasy. We got lots of stuff going on with Billy and Chris. Great guys. They've been doing Belly Up Fantasy Live every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Central Time. So definitely check it out.
Obviously, thank you so much. And also, if you ever catch us posting our stuff, you'll see Peter do some trolling on me. I mean, fair enough. You know, it's expected. I should never be shocked by that. Especially being an Arsenal supporter. He had the ultimate crutch on me. I had to support his team to beat Man City. Still can't believe I said those words, but I did. I will say though, the only thing I will say, Peter, Son should have scored that goal. That's all I gotta say. That's all I gotta say.
He should have.
I saw the interviews with the Tottenham fans saying that they'd rather see us not win the title than win against Man City. I heard them.
Tough.
I don't blame you. I would have been that same level of pettiness, so I can't deny it. So,
Well, Hector, I'll see you later, man.
all right, take care, Peter.
Righteous Felon Craft Jerky is the official jerky of Belly Up Sports. For over a decade, Righteous Felon Craft Jerky has led the American meat snack revolution by concocting delicious, adventurous, U.S.-sourced jerky recipes for uncompromising carnivores across the country. With 15 different flavors to choose from, Righteous Felon has all jerky lovers covered, and by using promo code BELLYUP, you will get 15% off your purchase at RighteousFelon.com. Do your taste buds a favor today and rip into a bag of Righteous Felon jerky.
All right, guys, I want to thank Peter for coming on to talk Euros. This is going to be the headline portion. But before we do, we're going to do overreactions. And my overreaction from this past week is thank God El Salvador finally won a game. It took 2 years. It took them to beat St. Vincent and the Grenadines, which I was very pessimistic going into that game because of the fact that they couldn't beat Puerto Rico. So, you know what? It is what it is, man. So, but yeah. Finally, El Salvador finally won a game. But the first headline that we're going to talk about is Chucky Lozano is joining San Diego FC. They have made it official. We saw it all over social media that he is parting ways with PSV Eindhoven and is coming to the United States. Yeah, there's, Chucky Lozano is a player that I have a lot of respect for. I think he's a solid player. But I just wish he would have stayed in Europe a little longer. I think I saw his progression as he left Liga MX to go play for PSV Eindhoven for the first time, and then went to Napoli. And I was hoping that he was going to make either his Premier League move or his La Liga move, but unfortunately, it just never happened for him. And kind of now I kind of want to say that he's been getting pushed out of L3. Respectively so. I mean, that's just, I think things need to change over there in Mexico. But like, it'd be cool. It's cool because now I can watch Chucky Lozano live, and I think that's an exciting part whenever he comes to Houston, or if I somehow go to San Diego and catch a San Diego FC game. But I think all good. But I think I just feel like we could have. I think he just didn't. He definitely played, I think, above people's expectations, but I just think I think his ceiling was a lot higher. I think he had a very good career in Europe. I know he had to go through some tough trials, but I think that nonetheless he had a very good European career. But I think it's just because I raised the bar a little too high on him. I felt like he would have had similar results like Andres Guardado, who had a very good, I think probably best example, at least currently, of like from the Mexican players that from that time period. I think Andres Guardado to me is always the best example because of the fact that um I think he was so good. And obviously had his career playing in Spain. And so it's unfortunate that we don't see the same thing happen to Chucky Lozano. Um, but I mean, he still solid career now, but here in the MLS, I think he's going to definitely generate a lot of attention over there. San Diego FC is going to be a very interesting team this year because of the names that are being speculated with San Diego FC. The likes of Sergio Ramos, the likes of Memo Ochoa. Um, obviously the goal is to compete with Inter Miami, and I mean they're doing the things that they needed to try to compete with Inter Miami. So we'll see how it pans out for them. It is an interesting venture, but yeah, Chucky Lozano now playing for San Diego FC and will be I'm assuming a designated player. Um, the next headline um is Real Madrid has stated that they will not be wanting to participate in the 2025 FIFA Club World Cup. And I think I kind of understand it. One, I think the earning potential is 20 million, which if you think of Real Madrid, they usually roughly make that per match anyways. So there's not really an incentive for Real Madrid to want to participate in this tournament. And I think when we were talking about the FIFA Club World Cup, my biggest gripe with it was the fact that um you're just like, when are these players gonna rest? Like, when are you gonna get how are you gonna handle that schedule? Like, you've just gone through the gauntlet of playing in your league. You've gone through the gauntlet of playing in Champions League, potentially if your team is in Champions League. And now you have to go into the FIFA Club World Cup. And then if you want to really think about the MLS teams that will be featured, their season will still be going. And so I think there's a lot of flaws to the FIFA Club World Cup. But I think the other thing is when you talk about these upper echelon teams, and obviously we're talking about the powerhouses in Europe, like, what's their incentive to participate in this tournament? There's really not much of a reason. I mean, when it was a shorter, small tournament, it was just, oh, let's and it's within the season, so like let's knock out this little tournament and move on. Whereas now it's, oh, we just went through the ringer. We gotta now go play another tournament. Like, I think a lot of players would have issues with it. I think Ancelotti made a very valid point as to there's just not, at least a financial standpoint, isn't really like enticing enough for a team like Real Madrid to want to participate in this tournament. And he even said, like, don't be surprised if other teams choose to not participate. And I think it's a very valid point. So yeah, I agree with it 100% on that. And I do think that there's a lot of flaws with the FIFA Club World Cup, and I think FIFA needs to really like sit down and look at how they want this tournament to be structured and how it would make sense. Because like I said, schedule congestion has been a massive issue with the game, and you're making it more congested where the players aren't even going to have a summer vacation, a summer break to relax. And I mean, obviously summertime also we have the transfer window. So, things are shaking up in the league, and you're not gonna, like I said, there's gonna cause some issues with just that alone. So, yeah, it's things that still, I think FIFA, honestly, I think FIFA what should honestly do, because it's 2024, it's the summer 2024, and it's supposed to be played next year. I honestly think FIFA should just pull it, just pull it until they are able to structure this tournament in a way that it makes sense and it considers the players. I don't think that playing a FIFA Club World Cup is an ideal thing, and that's just my thoughts. And the last headline is so St. Pauli manager, uh, shoot, what was his name? Um, this is called Hector Googles. Um, Let me see. Same. All right. So St. Pauli, are getting promoted to the Bundesliga this season, and all of a very interesting story where it is a player called Fabian Herzeler, who is 31 years old, one of the youngest managers, deemed the next Julian Nagelsmann to some people. He's 31 years old. If you want to let that sink in, I'm 32. So he is a year younger than me and has been managing St. Pauli. He has had quite the playing career, but he is most so known as a manager now. He has worked as an assistant with the youth in Germany. But he is said to be going to Brighton. Brighton is very much interested in him as a replacement for Roberto De Zerbi. But the fun fact about Fabian Herzer, besides his age, is that he was born in Houston, Texas. That's right, H-Town, baby. This dude is from Houston. Not for long. He lived there for a couple of years, but then his family moved back to Europe. I believe he comes from Swiss. I think Swiss. I know German and Swiss descent. His father is from Switzerland, and his mother is from Germany. But his family moved back to Germany when he was 2 years old. So, is he really an American? Probably not. I'm sure he visits over there, but he's also a youth product of Bayern Munich. Has played in Bayern Munich system. Has played in Bayern Munich 2. Then played for Hoffenheim 2. Played for 1860 Munich 2. And then went to this team called FC Pippersried, and then ended his career with a team called Ems-Betler TV. That's interesting. And then became a manager over at FC Pippenstride, and now obviously it's with St. Pauli. But the big story, obviously, being 31 years old and getting St. Pauli now to the Bundesliga. But like I said, man, when it comes to these managers, man, when they are able to have this kind of success, teams are keeping an eye on them. And I think now a team like Brighton, which I would think is probably a really good fit for a guy like Fabian, is going to be kind of hard to decline it. But the question would be, the man hasn't necessarily seen top tier football. He hasn't played in the top flight, hasn't managed in the top, played and managed in the top flight. Yes, he's part of the Bayern Munich system, and maybe that comes a lot of his influences. But I think that this is going to be very interesting about what he chooses to do in his career now. But I'm excited. I mean, I'm gonna say he's from H-Town. I'm gonna say the dude's a Houstonian. So I'm repping the city. We're gonna do some things with him. But we'll definitely be claiming him as an American. I do think he does have love for America, and that's gonna be a fun part for him as he ventures in. But if he does take the Brian job, I'm definitely gonna be wanting to see how his tactics adapt in the Premier League. I think that obviously Brian is a team that I've liked a lot of their signings, and obviously they have definitely been a good job, have done a good job of getting a lot of getting a lot of profit from their signings. So we'll see how Brian does it, especially if they do end up getting Fabian to be their next manager. But I think obviously the question would be like, does he want to go to Brighton, or does he feel like he has unfinished business with St. Pauli now? Because now they're going to be in the top flight. Does he want to see his project through? And I think that's going to be a very interesting. But we are still talking about the Premier League, and I think that's a really tough thing not to to avoid. So we'll see what happens with Fabian from the H, and all that. So that is headlines. So we're going to take a break and then go right back into the 2014, the 2024 Copa America with Jose Tejas from Golz TV and Kelcey Coin from High Low Sports. Hey guys, this is Hector from the Insert Name FC podcast here to tell you guys about Canada Dips. It is a great tasting, superior alternative to traditional dip using CBD in a way that is radical, enjoyable, and effective. It comes in 5 core flavors: wintergreen, mint, citrus, mango, and American spice. Canada Dip CBD is the new evolution in dip, allowing guys to enjoy great, long-lasting taste without the downsides. If you guys want to go ahead and try them out, use the code BellyUp20 at CanadaDipCBD.com. Once again, BellyUp20 at CanadaDipCBD.com, and you'll get yourself 20% off your purchase. Thank you again for Canada Dips for being a great partner of BellyUpSports. All right, guys. Part of this huge episode, this is actually the second parter of this episode, because if you guys are waiting till next week to listen to this half, thank you. But if not, still thank you regardless. But kicking off June 20th, as this episode is being played, I'm probably in El Salvador, drinking some Pilsners. But we're going to give you a preview of Copa America. Still going to have it there. It will also be dropped on YouTube and on Golz TV, which is a perfect segue to introduce Jose Tejas, the founder, creator, visionary. I don't just look up the source and just find some words of Golz TV. So Jose, welcome back.
Yeah, thanks, bro. I appreciate it, man. Copa America, I'm ready, bro. I'm doing a ton of Copa content for the tournament this year, so this is a perfect prelude to that.
And of course, also joining me, Kelcey Coin of High Low Sports, who apparently we were told that we need to start reviewing food, which I wouldn't be against that. So,
look, hey, if I'm going to review food, it might as well be at a Copa America match this summer. So maybe that's what I'll be doing. Instead of going just to watch USA Uruguay, maybe I'll be eating food at Dallas Stadium.
Little footy scran review. I'll take that all day, bro. Those are good. Those are good. But I'll say this right now: Dallas doesn't, in my opinion, don't come after me, Texans. It's not the footy scran is not always the best. I think some other stadiums do it a little bit better. But either way, bro, I'll take the review.
Yeah, gotta have fun with it.
I mean, is there anything like specific that like Dallas has? Not trying to be a Dallas hater, but like, is there anything like a specific like restaurant that Dallas has besides like a Whataburger or a Chick-fil-A flex?
A flex?
Yeah.
No, I mean, no, there's some Tex-Mex spots, I guess you could say, right? I don't know if they're specific to Dallas. I mean, like Tex-Mex and barbecue are always kind of the go-to. I think that's like an easy up for anybody. And when you go to stadiums like FC Dallas or like AT&T Stadium, it's kind of reflected there, right? Some of the vendors and whatnot, they're kind of some of the Texas food staples, if you will. And maybe that's why I'm just a little bit like, maybe you can find some better stuff elsewhere. But I think if you've never been and you're not a Texan, you'll probably enjoy it.
I mean, like the Dynamo, you could get yourself a banh mi.
Oh, yeah. See, there you go. I'm sure the Q2, bro, down in Austin, I'm sure they have all kinds of like modern cuisine lined up. And when I went, they had a bunch of different stuff. I would say Dallas kind of sticks to tried and true, Texan cuisine, so to speak. But either way, bro, like when you're drinking at a game, having a good time, most things will hit unless the food is trash. So, I'm not gonna be too picky.
That's very true.
See, there's also Atlanta in all this mix. And if you guys haven't been to Atlanta yet, who cares about the food there? Just the prices in general will keep you happy.
Really?
Like, yeah. So if you've never been to Atlanta Stadium, their owner gives a discount to all the food. So it's like drinks are like $2 and refillable.
Oh, shit.
Beers are like $5.
Okay.
Hot dogs are $1.
AJ's hiding some stuff from us,
for
man.
real, man. He has not talked about that at all. I mean, either way, that stadium looks phenomenal. That stadium looks phenomenal. But I mean, if the food's that cheap, I might have to work my way down there.
Yeah, man. I mean, because I was saying, because Houston, I mean, we have Trollburger now, so I mean, like, I don't recommend getting at the stadium just because it's like $20 for a hamburger, but like, it's a pretty good hamburger. I mean, it's a smash burger, but it's just like the unique thing because obviously, Bun B, iconic Houston rapper, UGK, all that stuff. Anyways, but alriys,
there's your food review.
Food review, yeah, suck it, guy who thought he got me.
Yeah, I remember that, bro. That's crazy.
But yeah, Copa America, and it's back in the U.S. Obviously, this is kind of the, I guess, dress rehearsal for the U.S. in preparation for the 2026 FIFA World Cup that is coming in 2 years, which is insane to even think about that. But, we got Copa America. The U.S. has host Copa America before, which was, I believe, was lived up to the hype. I think every stadium was packed. I mean, there was that one awkward moment where they played the Chilean national anthem while Uruguay. And that happened in Texas.
Yeah, of course it did. Of course it did, bro.
So, but obviously, looking back at that last Copa America and kind of looking into this one, what are some expectations? Maybe obviously be aware of the national anthems of the teams is probably like the first priority. But from after that, do you expect the attention to probably get even higher after this?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't think there's a doubt. I think this is going to be a great dress rehearsal for a lot of the stadiums. We were joking before we started hitting record that Kansas City somehow got 2 stadiums. Now, mind you, both stadiums, interesting. Arrowhead being one of the oldest stadiums out there. I don't know how great that is for modern amenities, but it's a great loud stadium. But then you got Children's Mercy, who whatever. Yeah, it's where Sporting Kansas plays. It's a really beautiful looking stadium, but I'm tired of it. But no, I think it's, yes, it'll bring eyes to it, but I think this is going to be like really a big opportunity for, U.S. men's national team players, especially. I'm going to just pick on them right now, based off of recent results, and Berhalter in particular, to see how he can do in a tournament where they're hosting. It's going to be very interesting to see what he does there. Obviously, there's a lot more storylines, but that's just the one that I think comes from an American audience, is you're going to kind of get a real eye on what is to be expected in these type of tournaments, and then how much are American fans really going to care? Is it going to be like U.S. cricket, where everybody's going crazy for right now, or is it going to be like the U.S. men's national team in 1993?
That's a good point, man. That's a good point. I actually think the most pressure by far, and in terms of things that we'll all be watching, it's got to be on Berhalter, right? Like, I mean, getting smacked up 5-1 by Colombia is obviously, it's a friendly. People read, I think, a little bit too much into that. I think those who've been following the USMNT for a long time understand that Berhalter has never punched above his weight, like basically ever. I think in the World Cup is the only time he netted a result over a top 20 side. That was Iran. Outside of that, he's kind of just been either slapped up by Colombia or others that are kind of in that upper echelon, FIFA ranking wise. So that's like a major, major thing. But I think the one thing nobody's really talking about yet, and we saw it in the Colombia game, bro. Everyone thought that I think U.S. were going to have some major home field advantage for this Copa America and for the World Cup. I actually think we're going to see a lot of these games where they're completely outnumbered fan-wise. And Colombia, I mean, like I saw people who were going to the game on the timeline, tweeting out that, bro, we're maybe 10% of all fans here. Like, it's insane how many Colombia supporters there are. I would say, and I heard, Jack from Deadball TV talk about this. I think Bolivia might be the only game USA play in the group stages where they're not going to be outnumbered, mainly because Bolivia just doesn't travel that well. But outside of that, Uruguay will be there in full force. And Panama will be there in full force. You saw that in the Gold Cup. So, yeah, man, I think that's going to be an interesting storyline to pay attention to, because it might affect how some of these games go.
Yeah, you mentioned that with Uruguay, because I remember when I went to go watch the Real Madrid Atletico Madrid watch party, and obviously, Diego Forlan, legend, icon for Uruguay. And that was probably the first time I ever saw like a gathering of Uruguayans. I was like, I didn't even know you guys existed here. So I mean, it's insane. But that's what this game does. It brings out all the fans, and I agree. You're gonna see, because 2019 Gold Cup final in Chicago, I was there. I was that little blotch of white at the stadium. So not even just one little corner in the stadium that back in my American Outlaw days. But obviously, when I look back at that last Copa America that the U.S. hosted, we got to see the lovable darlings of Venezuela that we all thought, man, this is the rise of a potential golden generation. Well, we were wrong, but it was an exciting country to watch, see how far they went into the tournament. We knew they weren't going to beat Argentina, but a great story nonetheless. And when you look at this tournament, we'll start with Jose. What is that country that you think is going to be the new lovable darlings for Copa America?
I don't know how lovable they are, but I will say that I think the team that I'm going to be most excited to tune into outside of US or Mexico, just because of those are my two nationalities and heritage-wise, I really think Ecuador will have something to say in Group B. I feel like Ecuador it's not even just like this version of this country's team. I think it's even in past, even the 2022 World Cup, I feel like they were not afraid to push forward and score goals in some of these one-off national tournaments to cement the fact that they are actually a really great country out of this confederation. I feel like when I was watching Valencia score goals in the 2022 World Cup, it took me back a little bit because of who that player is. But it also pleasantly surprised me, right? That Ecuador is not going to be, even though within their own confederation, it may sometimes feel like they don't grab headlines because you have the likes of Brazil, Argentina, Colombia, Chile has been to back-to-back finals for the Copa America before. And then you have some of these newer teams that are now, I think they've even pulled in some MLS talent, but guys like Venezuela, guys like Paraguay, who are going to be, competitive in their own right. Those countries are now starting to kind of pop up and be a little more relevant as well. So I feel like Ecuador sometimes kind of gets lost in the mix and isn't talked about as much. So for that reason, I think they're going to have something to say. They're not my dark horse to like go really far and upset some teams. I think that it'll still be kind of difficult for them. But in this group, I would say it's got to be them. If not, I mean, Jamaica, it's hard to have. It's really, really. I wanted to pick them for this question, but
there's
really,
a specific player that's going to be with Jamaica that I don't think anybody's going to be liking. So
yeah, I don't think they're going to be super likable. But I don't know, man. Ecuador to me, little bit of that darling, effect, kind of, how teams, how fans really kind of want to see them. And I think if they made somewhat of a deep run outside of the groups, nobody would be mad at it. So I'm going to pick Ecuador.
Okay. I mean, great pick. I do agree with that. Ecuador has been a lot of fun going back to the last World Cup. So that's a really good pick. Kelcey, who you got?
Yeah, so I'm actually was originally going to pick Ecuador, so I'm going to go and pivot from that to another team you mentioned.
It's okay.
Jose.
I was going to pick Ecuador too. So, I mean,
I'm glad I went first.
Yeah, the backup was Venezuela, but we're not going to go there either. We're not going to pick back-to-back darlings like that. We're going to go actually to another team you mentioned, Jose, and that's Paraguay.
Mm-hmm.
I think Paraguay is one of those teams you just look at and especially in the group with Brazil, obviously top heavy, Costa Rica, Colombia. You have an opportunity in that group if you can to upset Colombia, upset Costa Rica, technically upset them. But you also have a chance to make a name for yourself if you're Paraguay. You mentioned they've been stepping up a lot in especially CONMEBOL and how they've been performing. And, they just lost 1-0 to Colombia. That's not easy to do, as we just watched. You can easily get 5 put on you in a hurry. And Paraguay has a strong enough defense to handle anybody in this group, except for maybe Brazil. But it's whether their attackers can show up. And I think if they can score, if they can attack, I think it's a team that you would love to watch. And again, I don't know if I think I'm with Jose on this one. I don't know if I can go and say they're going to make a long run, but I think it's going to be a team that people can support and get behind and have fun with. It's always interesting to watch these minnows, if you will, make an impact in these bigger stages.
I agree. Actually, that's a great pick, Kelcey. I will say too, that first game in Houston, when they have to play Colombia, if they, for whatever reason, just come out swinging and I'm not going to say pull off a major upset, but just make that game more competitive than any of us think they can, it sets up a really interesting finale to that group because they have Costa Rica at the end. I think they'll lose to Brazil, but that first game against Colombia and Houston is going to be massive. Yeah,
all it takes is a good defensive stand, and this team has proven they can do it, especially against that Colombian team in the qualification match they just had against them. I guess that was in the last year, so I guess it wasn't recent, but 6 months ago. I mean, that's still impressive to do. Colombia has been on a 22-game unbeaten streak, and you can hold them to 1-0 and what they can do. If they can do something in game one, just a draw. All we're asking for is a draw here. That sets them up real well in that group to be able to sneak in that second place spot.
Great.
Yeah, and I mean, I think any Paraguayan would love to see this team back in a competitive form, back from the days of Jose Cardozo and Paulo da Silva. So I'm sure Liga MX fans can definitely know those names.
100%.
Man, you know what? I'm just gonna piggyback on Ecuador, man. This team, it's just the player. It's the young core players that they have, man. A lot of them doing really good things in Europe. Obviously, all eyes are gonna be on what's the name of left back? Estupinha. I don't know why. I love his last name. But Estupinha, man, that all eyes are gonna be on him. He's gonna be definitely a fun player to watch, and it's always crazy because we're talking about a fullback. He could do a lot in the attack as well. And obviously got the fullback bias coming in on this one, but he's definitely been a fun player to watch. Hopefully he can stay healthy. That's something that he's been battling at least recently has been his health. But I mean, when he's able to play with that solid young core of Ecuadorians, I think it's going to be a very fun team to watch for sure in this tournament. Um, obviously we got Louisville Darlings, but the pressure, where is the pressure coming from? Obviously, U.S. men's national team has their own pressure, but who is another country that you think is going to get some pressure to have a good tournament here? And we'll start things with Kelcey.
I mean, this might be the lowest hanging fruit, not named the U.S. men's national team, but I'm going to go with Mexico. I don't think there's any doubt in anybody's mind. This team has probably the most pressure out of anybody. It's not looking good right now for Mexico. Everything they're doing on the field has not been pretty. You've been wiped out by teams you probably shouldn't be wiped out by. You don't even look competitive in half of your matches right now, and they're friendlies. We're talking friendlies here. We're not talking competitive matches, and it doesn't look good. I mean, even in CONCACAF play, they don't look good in CONCACAF play, and that's, again, CONCACAF still isn't the level that everybody would love it to be outside of 3, maybe 4 teams there. And Mexico doesn't look good in it. And that's just, you never want to see something like that if you're a Mexican fan who is just ready for this team to explode. You have such a strong, young, talented player pool. Why aren't you using them? It feels very reminiscent of the days where they would just pull from Club America. And that was your national team, was 10 of the starting 11 from Club America. But this isn't it feels similar. It's not, but it still feels in that ilk. And that's what's scary for a lot of Mexican fans who have a lot of hope for this young team. And
it's insane. It's insane, honestly, man. Like, I don't know what Santiago Jimenez did. I have no idea. But I will say there is at least something to build off of that 3-2 loss to Brazil. Yes, we saw one Endrick is him. That's the only thing I took away from that. But I mean, still props to Mexico. They made it a 2-2 match, being down 2-0 and to tie it up. I mean, that's still impressive to say the least. Obviously, there's some. I'm not gonna say full faith, but there is some faith in Jimmy Lozano, and I think it's just because of the name. But I mean, I will say Mexican Federation did something that we didn't expect to happen, which is they moved away from the old guard. We didn't see Memo Ochoa. We're not seeing the names that we usually expect to see. So at least there's, I think, some hope. But yes, the pressure is completely on for Mexico. I don't know why a Salvadorian and American are trying to talk about the pressure of Mexico, because we literally have a Mexican in this conversation. So
I mean, there's a ton of pressure. I will piggyback on, and that was going to be my low hanging fruit pick too, right? I think Mexico, bro, it's such a systemic issue that is kind of in place right now with this federation, with this team. Everybody can see it, man. It's like, I feel like nothing will really fix itself with Mexico until they kind of blow everything up from the ground up and rebuild. I just firmly believe that way. I don't think Jimmy Lozano is the answer. I mean, yeah, they've kind of gone away from some of the old heads, like you said, but it's even with some of the new exciting talent that they have, it's like I'm not super inspired by them. Santi didn't play against Uruguay, and that is what it is. I thought he should have gotten some minutes in that 4-0 loss, right? Because I think that with where he is right now in the national team and his standing, and the fact that there's no real competition for that number 9 spot, he should be getting as many reps to get comfortable as possible. But even beyond that, right? He did play against Brazil, and sure, Mexican fans will be like, oh, we only lost 3-2 to Brazil, who had the second best odds to win Copa America. True, but if you look historically at that matchup, Mexico tend to match up against Brazil fairly well for the most part. Like, I can't think of very many games in recent tournament history where Brazil has wiped the floor with Mexico. Guillermo Ochoa has had massive saves and performances, and that's helped Mexico a lot. But in some of these big tournaments, I feel like we show up against Brazil. Why can't we do that against Uruguay? Why can't we do that against the teams that are going to be in our group? I'm willing to bet Ecuador is going to give us a very difficult time. Even the likes of Venezuela and Jamaica will create a ton of problems. And I don't know. I feel like we're going to get very up and down performances. It doesn't bode well for fan sentiment. I feel like the biggest supporters at this point of Mexico right now are the Mexican Americans, the ones who are on this side of the border and are filling up the stadiums and buying the kits and, driving all the revenue for the federation. I don't know, man. I think it's going to be, I'm telling everybody right now, I think it's a W if Mexico does not get grouped. If they make it out and they get to the knockout stages, W. Lozano should just keep going and figure out a way to kind of keep building on what they're doing. But I don't see it. I think I'll be honest. I really think that Mexico isn't going to make it out of the group stages.
Yeah, I love how you mentioned the Mexican Americans because they are definitely the big contributors. But it's funny because they're the phrase that's constantly being said, and this even goes to like even being a Salvadorian American myself is in Spanish it's no son de aquí, no son de allá, which means I'm not from here, but I'm also not from there either. So
Yeah.
it's always a funny thing where it's like the best quote is actually from the Selena movie, which is like, we got to prove to the Mexicans that we're Mexican, but then prove to the Americans that we're American. It's exhausting, and
it's facts. I with my own family, that's fucking facts. Like if I go down to Mexico, I gotta like literally like try to like blend right in. Otherwise, they're like, oh look how Americanized he is. Look how whatever. And it's like that's fine. I think we could deal with that, right? But that's who's keeping right now the federation paid, and everything that's happening, I believe, won't really change until that aspect changes. But who knows how long that'll take?
That is true, man. I think the team that I think is going to have a lot of pressure, besides Mexico, I think there's a ton of pressure. But I will say Canada, and the reason why I say Canada, all right, Canada. When are we going to see this generation of players? That you guys keep, flexing Alphonso Davies and flexing, Jonathan David, in front of us. And it's like, look what we have, but nothing has come from it. There hasn't been any Gold Cup success. Not even a final appearance. A final appearance in the Nations League, but aside from that, still close, but no cigar, if you will, for Canada. And once again, it's all from the hype of Alphonso Davies. And then on the other side, you got Jesse Marsch, the American who felt he was mistreated. I don't know. I don't know why I'm being a dick to Jesse Marsch right now, but quote unquote, was treated fairly, which I still can't believe that Greg Berhalter still got the job anyways. But Jesse Marsch, this guy is solid. He's the big sexy name that everyone keeps thinking of. But if you really look at his recent track record, it doesn't look good. He got fired by RB Leipzig and then got fired by Leeds United, and hadn't gotten a job in a while since till he took the Canada job. So I think both those parties have a ton of pressure, especially how they performed in their friendly, to do something in this tournament. And you're in a group that I would tell you is probably not fair. You are probably one of the few teams that, besides Costa Rica, that has to be playing three CONMEBOL teams. And of all the three, it's Argentina, Peru, who could be a little frisky in these tournaments, and Chile, who also has something to prove as well. So you're in a very tough group. I actually deem this the group of death. And you gotta do something to at least have the soccer world, not just your country, but the soccer world, to believe that you're going to be a threat.
I'm gonna say it right now. Canada's not getting out the hood alive, bro. They're really not. Like, it's not happening. And this is not even a slight to Jesse Marsch. I don't see it. Like you said, group of death, most likely. Chile have a lot to prove and have a manager with Gareca that will, I think, make this tournament and that group very, very interesting. Has a strong CV and resume, and most notably with Argentina prior to Chile. Yeah, man, and Peru's a wild card. So I just think Canada has a lot of pressure, match in and match out. It's not going to be on Jesse Marsch if they don't succeed. It won't be on him. I think he's still he hasn't even gotten his feet wet in the role, man. You got to give him time. But I think that Canada, yeah, bro. If they make it out and prove me wrong, Canadians call that a huge dub. You should feel like you won the tournament because it's probably as far as you're going to get.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that. It's tough. I mean, just in the group you're getting drawn into to begin with. Then you add in the fact that you're relying on a bunch of 22 to 25-year-olds for the most part, who, looking down the line, none of them have really cracked 50 appearances. And then you have Jonathan Osorio. And let's be honest, maybe not the guy I'm going to put my hopes on if I'm a Canadian fan. That's for sure, unless he's trying to just make somebody mad, in which case, all right, fair enough. Kyle Larin.
The man likes to throw hands, I will say that.
Yeah, exactly. But Kyle Larin, that's the striker you're probably going to be relying on as well. Has he really panned out? No. but he does play well for Canada. But you look at that, then you add in Richie Larea, who seems to go absent in a lot of different appearances in tournaments. He's just like, he does well in the group stage for minnows, and then all of a sudden, next thing you know, it's going up against a team that they should beat, but it's close in ranking, like you mentioned with Berhalter earlier, where he doesn't beat anybody inside the top 20. Well, Richie Larea doesn't show up to anybody inside the top 25, really, and that's being kind. Maybe it's even the top 50. But yeah, there's a lot of questions here. There's a lot of young players on this team that if Jesse Marsch can figure out a way to make them work, like maybe he did in his initial stages with Red Bull, sure. But if he doesn't, that's a team that needs to be very careful. I agree, Hector. That's a team that's ready for getting imploded by 2026.
Exactly. And we just mentioned the 3 host nations for the World Cup. So, like I said, there's a ton of pressure on U.S., but Mexico and Canada, I think there's definitely a lot of pressure that, because for some of us, we need to see them perform because you guys got the automatic spot. Like, let that sink in for Canada specifically. Like, the only way you were able to get into the World Cup, besides last year where you just outright won the qualifiers, but the other way was by just hosting the country. So,
I mean, you look at it, bro. I went to the play-in game when Canada played Trinidad and Tobago, right, to get into Copa America. And it was, I mean, I'll be honest, bro, much of the game, I was wondering when Canada was going to turn it on, right? Not just Davey, even Davies, right? Like, he was making, some blistering runs. They couldn't really find him. Tajon Buchanan looked like he was out of sorts all the way around. Like, just players running into each other. It didn't seem fluid. They really beat Trinidad because they were the better team on paper. They had the better individuals on paper. But that's really it. Trinidad had a number of opportunities to like equalize or to even go ahead in the game. And it felt like, I don't know. It felt like Canada will struggle against better teams. And we've seen it already. The 0-0 draw against France today was like cool. It was a friendly. A lot of those guys were being rotated by Didier Deschamps. And so I think if it was a full-blown like Copa America group stage or a World Cup group stage match, I think a rampant France team would kind of walk all over them. Yeah, man, it's going to be tough for them. It's going to be tough. I was going to say too, man, if we're picking a team outside of CONCACAF who has a lot of pressure, I think it's Brazil. In my opinion, I think Brazil has a lot to prove. Their biggest nation rival has gone on to beat them in the last Copa America final, has gone on to win a World Cup, and it's probably not going to have any pressure on them really to deliver another trophy. In fact, Argentina might take their foot off the gas. I don't think Messi will, but I think that complacency is a thing, and they've been winning quite a bit. So, we might see a step back there, and that'll be fine. The fans won't mind that. But with Brazil, with the likes of Endrick and all of this new refreshing talent and all of the stars that were already there and the comparisons that they get to the previous generation, right? The Ronaldinho, the Ronaldo, the Kaká era. I think that there's massive pressure on Brazil, who haven't been to a final since 2019? Half a decade now, to deliver something. Yep. So we'll see.
Shout out to my adopted son, Rodrigo, for being the number 10. So
a lot of pressure, bro. A lot of pressure, number 10. That's a hell of a number.
Lots of pressure. I believe in it.
And by the way, adding one more team in this list, I know we've talked about them a couple times and like the more positive nature of what they've done, but Colombia. And I think it's because they've had a 22-game unbeaten streak going into this. They walk into this group as probably the odds-on favorite of being number 2, arguably number 1 if they can really scrape out. But as I even said when I was talking about Paraguay, it's like they come in and sneak one against Colombia. Colombian fans, first of all, they will just lay it out on you. They will give you every bit of stick they could possibly give you if you cannot beat Paraguay day one. And who knows what that does to Colombian players. We've seen what's happened before when their fans turn on the Colombian national team. It doesn't really go well for the team in that tournament and for the next 4 or 5 years after that. So it's a situation where you look at it, and if you're Colombia, you got to win. You got to win. You got to at least get out of there number 2 out of the group stage, and you got to win 1-2 games in the knockouts. I mean, you can't just go out without really swinging, if you will. They got a lot to swing, so they got to do something important there. But I think they have also, and it's ironic that we're sticking in Group D with the alternative pressure here for non-CONCACAF teams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna be wild if Colombia upset Brazil. Like if Brazil goes into the knockout rounds as the second seed, I don't know. It's gonna be wild. We'll see what happens.
Tough journey. Especially if Group C goes the way it goes, you're talking about a potential Uruguay Brazil quarterfinal. So
Yeah.
so
Or for
that's
an American fan, if you get lucky, it's an American Brazilian matchup there, and is that even better? No.
all right. So before we get to the group round group predictions, I from each one of you, dark horse team and player to watch. So we'll start with Jose.
Oh man. Dark horse team, Chile. I say Chile because of Gareca. And I think that manager knows how to approach tournaments. I think Chile has also a little bit of something to prove, just considering their history in this competition. And nobody wants to see another Argentina-Chile final. Or really, maybe they do. Who knows? It's been some time. But I think that, seeing those two, CONMEBOL powerhouses in the same group, Chile will be tested early on, which I think if the test goes positively for them, it serves as like a springboard, right? Something that they can actually use to get the experience they need and maybe some of the confidence they need to approach the knockout rounds accordingly. So they like, again, they have a manager who knows how to play tournaments like this. They have a history in this competition. They haven't been talked about in quite some time, which makes me feel like they're going to be slept on quite a bit. I do think Chile are if I had to pick a dark horse, and again, a dark horse for me isn't someone who's a favorite. I think Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay, Colombia, like all those guys to me are teams that I would consider somewhat favorites. You could throw maybe a little bit of Ecuador in the mix, but I'm just gonna stick with Chile.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
what was the second one, by the way? Sorry.
Player to watch.
Player to watch, Endrick, and not just because he's like the talk of the town right now. I want to see if he lives up to the hype. That is my thing. I think Endrick has benefited extremely well from some of the friendlies he's played to kick off his international career. I love that. That's awesome. We've seen other players do that though, and at times not live up to the hype. Moving forward, there will be a lot of pressure on him this coming season with his new club, Real Madrid. They've won everything without him. He'll have to find his place in that star-studded lineup. And this is kind of a dress rehearsal for that. This is a very stacked Brazil attack. And
that does feature plenty of Real Madrid players.
Exactly. He'll have to figure out where he fits in. And so I think there's going to be a lot of self-inflicted pressure from him, from his family, from his entourage. He'll carry himself with the highest bar. But if he doesn't live up to some of the hype that's already kind of going around, I just wonder what that does for that young player's mentality. So that's in my opinion that player to watch.
That is a good one. Kelcey.
Yeah. So this is tough because I do want it for a dark horse. Like everybody that I would like to pick is technically considered a favorite, which is ironic because even Mexico and the U.S. are listed as top 5 favorites, which is crazy to consider, at least betting odds wise. With that in mind, we'll go Venezuela. Venezuela is my dark horse here. And I look down at that group. Why not? And then your matchup there, it's going to be unfortunate in the next round, no matter what you get. If you end up number 1 in Group B, but if you can do that, easily Venezuela can match up potentially with, as you mentioned, Chile or Peru, Canada, Argentina if they stumble. Any one of those teams, I think I still give the edge to Venezuela in a lot of those situations, just based off of the way they play. It's not going to be easy for Canada to defend them. They have the speed to defend them, but they do have the skill to defend them, not necessarily. The rest of those teams, do they have the speed to contend with Venezuela? I don't know. And then, so I have them potentially being that dark horse to make a run. And if they do, crown me, I guess. I don't know what else to say. That would be an insane run if they can pull it off. But, obviously my other option there was Uruguay, but there's no chance. They're considered the dark horse by anybody. So with that in mind, though, I'm going to go my player to watch. I'm going to go with we're gonna say Darwin. I think
of
it's
course
just,
the Liverpool fan picks Darwin Nunez.
Yeah, but it's obvious. It's like Diego Forlan in the old days. Like this is where he made his stand. This is where he made his moment, was in what he did in Copa America, and that's what got him propelled forward in his career and why he's known as one of the greatest players to play in that era. And Darwin is showing signs. As a Liverpool fan, I can easily tell you, he can be pulled at any point in time on a match day, and you might get better, but you definitely don't get worse. And that's not necessarily a great thing if you're Darwin. And can he make that next step in this tournament where he's playing against a lot of defenders that honestly he can take advantage of with his skill set? It doesn't take much. He's big, he's strong, he's fast. He has skills on the ball. He knows where the goal is. There's no reason he shouldn't have a great performance. He's already been doing well just in the run up to this tournament. So yeah, I'm gonna say Darwin is my player to watch.
Hey, that's like a great shout too, because if Darwin actually turns up in this tournament, right? Let's say he ends up becoming like the guy during the group stages and the run up to maybe the final. If Uruguay goes far and he's kind of their leading goal scorer and the guy that they can lean upon in their attack, I think there's a lot of confidence you take from that into the Liverpool play where he's just been missing it. I don't think he's bad. I think his intangibles are phenomenal. I would take him, at any either of my teams in a heartbeat, Barcelona or Arsenal. Because I think the raw skill set is there. I know for
a fact Edward would take him in a heartbeat. That's been his
I would take him at Barca in a heartbeat, but it's really just because like you see how you can already see, for those who are knowledgeable, you can see how good he is on paper, right? Yeah. You tell yourself, imagine how good he's going to be when the mentally starts clicking, he starts scoring consistently week in and week out. The guy's going to be a machine. So I don't know. I think if he does turn up in this tournament, there's a lot of confidence he could take from it into club play.
Yeah, and I think you hit on something important there with Darwin, is that it's his mentality. It's how much he focuses day in and day out. And I think that's where he's lacked at Liverpool, where it is as simple as it's a one touch into the goal and you're hitting it 7 yards wide. But there's moments where he, like the pass in one of the friendlies they just had, it was a 1-2 give and go, beautiful give and go on a one touch between two defenders back to goal. And then he turns and he's there to finish the goal. It's simple things like that. He's a great evolution of what was a number 9 and what can be a number 9 now. And it's that combination that I think would set him apart from somebody, but he just mentally isn't checked in at all times. And if he can do that in this type of a tournament where it's grueling, it's one game every 3 to 5 days. If you can do that, and even if they don't make it to the finals, even if they just have a run into the group stages and it looks good, that's something to build a lot of confidence.
Agreed. Yeah, definitely. I'm just gonna say Chile. I mean, obviously they're chomping at the bit at this point. They want to be that generation that puts Chile back on the map. Obviously, missed out on the World Cup. I think the last 2 World Cups actually they missed out on. So Chile wants to get back into the conversation, especially a team that has had success in Copa America as well. The question is, like, do they have that crop of players that, obviously we haven't seen since the names of like Arturo Vidal and Claudio Bravo, and so on, and so Alexis Sanchez. Do we see a player that could come and rise to the top to put Chile back on the map? But they have the right coach, and I think that Chile is going to be a big dark horse in this tournament. Probably could spoil some people's plans for some Copa America success. So I do agree with Jose with picking Chile. And my player to watch, I am going to go to Uruguay, and it is my other adopted son, Federico Valverde. You're talking about Darwin Nunez having to be a big step up. Well, he's got to get some passes coming his way. Obviously, just got donned to number 8 for Real Madrid from Toni Kroos. That's a big person that wants to give him that number. So can he live up to that hype? We've seen him perform very well. Kid's a dog. But now it's time to see him become that creative player that Toni Kroos apparently sees in him. So I definitely say that Valverde. And I think that this is a big tournament for Uruguay as well. I think there's a ton of pressure for Uruguay. I think that you became this soccer nation that is so tiny, but somehow shits out a ton of fucking soccer legends. That how are you not performing at some point? Luis Suarez and Edison Cavani are now days have passed. Now we need to see what this next generation of Uruguayan players, which is a lot of talented players that are coming out of Uruguay, can they get it together and make a run out of it?
I think so, bro. I mean, I'll be honest. Like, you look at that game against Mexico. The scariest part where they were missing Fede Valverde and Ronald Araujo, right? The monster of a center back from Barcelona. So you missed 2 of the best players in the world in that team, and they still, run all over Mexico 4-0. You imagine what the game could have been. I think Uruguay is going to be a monster of a team to watch out for in this tournament.
Yeah. And how have people continued to sleep on Valverde at this point in time? That's my.
I think it's just hate. It's just hate at this point.
This feels like the Lozano
the disrespect
Diarra
to my
days.
son.
Yeah, like this feels like one of the Diarra brothers, like when they were just fantastic, bossing midfields. Valverde is the linchpin for a team that just won the Champions League final.
Yeah, it's crazy, bro.
You can't sleep on that. Like that ability. Like how are people just? Yes, Toni Kroos obviously fantastic in midfield, but Valverde is the dude. That is the engine that makes it all run. And it's like, even when you look at it on the national team side, there's no reason that he keeps needing to be overlooked. People just, it's crazy to me that he keeps getting overlooked.
Yeah, I will say this: in the World Cup, Uruguay obviously didn't impress as much as a lot of us thought they would. I think a lot of that came down to the manager. I think under Bielsa, this run that Uruguay is on, qualifying wise, and even on some of the friendlies leading up to this tournament, Fetty has looked different, I will say. A lot of the team has, actually. The way they kind of move the ball to the midfield, the different types of attack that we've seen, whether it's been a little more direct or kind of slow in the buildup. And I will say this: I don't see Valverde chasing the ball as much as I used to, let's say a couple of years ago when they were kind of in that World Cup and Uruguay looked a little bit lost. I think that, like I said, under this managers make a massive difference. They really do. I think Valverde seems a little more settled. I think a lot of the team does, like Darwin included. So they should have a big tournament. We could probably say it's another team that has a lot of pressure on them.
Yeah, they look a lot more free, a lot more dynamic in the way they build it. As I mentioned, you saw Darwin 1-2s easy. It was easy between two defenders. Like it was just no big deal. And then, Valverde, like you said, it almost is like now he feels the freedom. He doesn't have to chase like he had to, because before he was the dude in midfield at that point in time. Like nobody else in that midfield was playing well in the last World Cup. And so you see that now he's like, oh, wait, we got 2-3 guys that I can rely on next to me. And we don't have to worry about it if we get it to our forward of him just immediately losing the ball like he was in that previous World Cup.
Exactly.
And so, yeah, I do think that's important too.
All right. So we talked about dark horses and team and a player to watch. All right. Predictions. So we're going to look at the groups. Group A, we have Argentina, Peru, Chile, Canada. I dubbed this group the group of death. I think obviously number one seems pretty clear to me, but I think whoever gets that second spot can cause some friction in this tournament, especially depending on who they face off in Group B, which I feel like could be a favorable matchup regardless of who wins Group B. So I'm just going to go ahead and pick by pick. Argentina obviously is going to be, I think, the one that wins the group outright. I think it's expected. They're familiar with Peru and Chile. I actually, and Canada, I'm sorry, but Canada is getting grouped. I might see them get one draw, but aside from that, they're getting grouped out of here. But Argentina is winning this group, and my team to finish in second, I mentioned them as a dark horse. It's going to be Chile.
Exact same for me.
I'm gonna spice it up a little bit here. I'm gonna say Jesse Marsh pulls off a miracle and gets him through on goal difference.
What a shout. What a shout. Jesse Marsh stands in the chat are going nuts. I think if Canada does, bro, I will hold my hands up and say this was an L take. Maybe he can. I don't dislike Jesse Marsh, but I don't know.
Bro, you're gonna make me hate Greg Berhalter more, which I didn't even think is possible.
I'm already there. Don't worry. I'm already carrying the hate torch for Greg Berhalter for everybody. We're good there. But no, let me be clear. They're not going to win the group. But they're very much going to finish second in the group. I still have Argentina winning. I think that is just locked in as firm until proven otherwise, unless there's a disaster, which I don't even want to speak into existence. Because who knows? I don't want to be told I need to go back to food making videos again. Okay, like I've been there once, been there twice. I don't need a third time. I might just actually start doing it at that point in time.
It's a sign from God, bro. All right, so Group B, Mexico, Ecuador, Venezuela, and Jamaica. I think this is probably one of the more interesting groups just because it's a very open group. Anything can happen. I will say Mexico, I feel, has a slight advantage because we are talking about playing here in the United States, and it's a home field advantage. They have more of a home field advantage here in the U.S. than the U.S. team has. And one thing, Mexico travels very well, and you're just gonna tell them to go just up north. I mean, easy day for them, especially if you're a rich Mexican. So I actually have Mexico winning the group. I think Ecuador is going to be a challenge for them, but I think that they should be able to compete well with Venezuela and Jamaica's. It's once again there's familiarity. I think there might be, sorry Jose, some shystiness that might happen in that Jamaica game, which I'm not going to be against if that happens. The Ecuador match, I will say, will be the deciding factor. I think they're going to be Venezuela and Jamaica. They might draw with Ecuador, but I think by goal differential can put them up top at first, and my second is Ecuador.
I would love that, bro. Like, I would love to be proven wrong. I would love for Mexico to get out of the group. Obviously, for my own family's sake, I would love for Mexico to get out of the group. This team is so up and down, bro. I mean, they very well could. It'll be by the skin of their teeth, like you just said, right? Like goal differential, something along those lines. I'll be honest. I really think I'm gonna go alphabetical order here. I think it's gonna be Ecuador and Jamaica, in my opinion. Nothing against Venezuela. I think they could. They definitely could show up. And kind of prove me wrong. To be fair, I don't know that much about Venezuela. I'll hold my hands up and say that I'm not as familiar with what they've done. Some of the recent results they've had. I'm very familiar with the other three teams, so I'm very confident on kind of what I know about them. I think Jamaica and Mexico will be very close when they play each other. I think there'll be some feistiness to that game. It'll be a little more physical than the other group stage games will be for Mexico. And that one's a wild card. It could be a toss up, right? Vintage. Mexico could show up, or we could see the exact same version of Mexico that we saw against Uruguay show up. It really depends. But I'm going to back Jamaica just because I feel like other fans won't. And I think that is a chip that Jamaica will gladly carry on their shoulder as they go in there and try to pull off upsets like they've done in Gold Cups and previous tournaments past. So I think Ecuador is the best team in this group, and I'm just going to simply, out of recent form, back Jamaica over Mexico. Just my unbiased, logical side of me talking. Now, who do I want to go through? God, I hope Mexico goes through. I can't take any more meltdowns, man. I can't deal with the million group chats I'm a part of with family freaking out over the latest Mexico loss. I don't need that shit in my life anymore.
I mean, for the sanctity of Capará football. I mean,
bro. God, I can only imagine what happens in those offices, bro. And when people actually when these losses come through, I mean, it's a mad scramble on the timeline. I'll say that. And I just turned social media off when it happened. Like this past game, I was watching it. I watched the whole 4-0, but I didn't even look at my phone. I was like, I don't even care what everybody's saying. I really think it's going to be Ecuador and Jamaica, but happy to be proven wrong.
Yeah, I don't dislike the Jamaica pick for sure. I do like the Reggae Boys as a kind of sneaky pick in this. They're a very sneaky pick in the betting odds in this. They're, by the way, they're third lowest in option and opportunities to get like anything in this tournament. But for me, I'm gonna stick with your one seed. I'm going Ecuador as well. I think that's a really safe pick. The rest of this group might be the group of disappointment. If we've had a group of death, it might be the group of disappointment for the other three. And no hate to Jamaica, no hate to Mexico, no hate to Venezuela, just kind of how it is. With that in mind, I think it's going to come down to that Mexico and Jamaica game. And if it doesn't go well for either team, I think that leaves an opportunity for Venezuela to sneak in. And that's where I'm going with this. I'm going that 2 seed being Venezuela. So
nice.
All right.
Yeah.
So Ecuador, regardless, is getting, apparently everyone believes in Ecuador. Yeah. But the second team is just the contradiction.
Yeah.
But all right. It's good. Different opinions. That's what matters. You guys are all stupid.
It looks like we're all going to be making food videos soon.
Yeah, maybe. Which I'm totally down for, by the way. I won't hate on that at all.
Look, I do love me some what are those the fair foods. So
hell yeah, yeah, I'm down for that.
Give me some funnel cake.
Yes, thank you. Funnel cake fries. All right.
I'm down for that. I'm totally down for that.
So Group C, we have USA, Uruguay, Panama, and Bolivia. It's Uruguay. Uruguay's going to finish in first. I think they're clearly the best team in this group. USA, if you cannot beat Bolivia and get a result out of Panama, because the last match is Uruguay. So I'm gonna guess that by that point Uruguay has already won the group, and hopefully they're not all in. This is gonna be the most US thing ever. You beat Bolivia, you probably draw against Panama, and you're probably gonna draw against Uruguay, but somehow still make it out the group. So that's where I'm going with. It's gonna be Uruguay and USA moving on some bullshit. So
yeah, it may be, and it would be. I mean, World Cups included. Like it's the most US thing ever to just finish 1-1-1 and go in on goal differential. I'm gonna say Uruguay and US, I will say this, like as bad as Berhalter was with the motivation for the players going into the Colombia match, with setting the right expectation against CONMEBOL teams in general. Hopefully that match against Colombia was a massive wake-up call, because I think that this is going to be the Copa America for the US could arguably be more difficult than the 2026 World Cup will be for them. Just because CONMEBOL teams are different, bro. South America, there's no such thing as a friendly ever. It's not how it goes down there. Like, you need to be ready to like die on that field against these teams, or they will completely wipe the floor with you. And they have experience, even if it's in the Gold Cup against Panama. I don't expect, and that, it was people will say it was a B team version of US that lost to Panama. Either way, an L's an L. It will be one that they'll be wary of, but they should beat Bolivia here in Dallas when they play that first game, that opening game. So I'm going to back Uruguay to be the clear and sole, top of the group. And to me, it should be a clear-cut US second. It should be on paper. Like, it shouldn't even be like a goal differential thing. It should be US come in. They might even lose to Uruguay, but they should win the other two matchups, in my opinion. Like, if they struggle against Panama, it's wraps. It's GG's. Like, I'm not even worried about what happens to the US after that game. I think it's done. I don't see them having the mentality to make a deep run in the knockouts at that point.
Yep.
Yeah. My interest in this tournament might end after game one, is what I just heard. So thank you for that so much, Jose. It gives me so much faith. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't have much faith to begin with. It's Greg Berhalter we're talking about.
Fair.
Despite all that, here's my number one is the U.S. And the big reason why is I do think they'll get two wins out of the first two games. I do think they can pull that off, even if it's ugly as, I don't know, whatever you can come up with. Imagine just whatever the worst imagination is. That'll be what happens here. Uruguay as well. Easily get 2 wins. There's nobody they have to compete with in that third game. Uruguay is going to just mail it in. They're not trying to get anybody injured. Anybody we just talked about, Valverde, or Darwin. Nobody's going to be trying to get injured in that match. The U.S. on the other hand is trying to prove a point, sneak a goal, sneak a win that way. That's the only way they're going to end up with the 1 seed. So I'm just going to roll with it, because why not at this point in time? I mean, my other career is calling me, so we can go to that eventually with the food videos. So, but no, I'm going to go U.S. versus Uruguay. I'm just going to keep that theme running if you guys haven't figured that out throughout the entire time, because at this point in time, you can just clip all these and send it to the guy as a
Kelcey's
reply.
food reviews.
Yeah,
hell yeah.
Food reviews and a random pick. Here you go.
All right. The final group, Group D. All right, we have Brazil, Colombia, Paraguay, and Costa Rica. Which this is basically. I'm sorry, Paraguay, and I'm sorry, Costa Rica, that you have to be in this group, because
tough.
It is. I honestly will say I think it's going to be Colombia winning the group and Brazil coming out in second. I think that there's. And I know it's crazy to say that after a 3-2 win against Mexico, which honestly is a big for Brazil, because like Jose mentioned, they don't particularly play very well against Mexico. But I don't know, man. I think this Colombia team is just different. There's something special about this team. A lot of quality players that are coming out in Colombia. This probably, I'm not going to say golden generation, but a very interesting generation of players that are coming out from Colombia. And, another country that you're hoping to see some success as well. So I think Colombia can do it, get a result against Brazil, even if it's a draw. And I think that they win Group D and Brazil comes out in second, which, I mean, could be a good thing for them, or not. It can't be. Probably not.
Yeah. No, I like that one. I'm gonna steal this one before Jose gets a chance to steal it from me. So I'm gonna go Brazil with the top of the group, and it's gonna come down for me just like the last two groups, last game of this group stage, Brazil versus Colombia. And the biggest reason why I have Brazil taking it out is they don't leave California except for one game in the group stages, and when they leave, they go to Vegas. I don't think there's an easier schedule as far as stadium travel goes than what Brazil has, and that in mind, they might also have the best second unit out there that can just roll out a second 11 that is still world-class level talent. And Colombia, even in the last match, even if they have nothing to play for, is going to be still rolling out their best team. But Brazil's number twos are still better for the most part across the board. So I'm going to have Brazil taking this one, and Colombia, they're going to take my second as well.
Yeah, it's really interesting, man. I think so. I'm very torn. Obviously, I'm also leaning to the Brazil Colombia. Who gets first? Who gets second? I think the first game. I kind of meant what I said. I think Paraguay is not going to be as easy for Colombia for whatever reason as a lot of fans think it will be. I think it's going to be tricky. It's also going to be don't forget, right, in the late June in Houston, Texas. I can only imagine how hot and humid it's going to be. It's going to be a war of attrition, I think, out in the pitch. To me, Colombia's better built for it with just what we've seen. I feel like Colombia is a team that, right now anyway, a good generation of talent, but also a generation of talent that's very bought into how they play. Those guys are honestly workhorses, man. Like just the how fast they play for a full 90. And they just keep coming at you. They keep pressing. They keep countering, keep throwing transitions at you. It's exhausting. You throw in.
Whole Foods cart. What else would you like from Whole Foods?
What the hell happened? Alexa off.
But that was awesome. But you throw in just like the sheer just mentality of this team. Also seeing James Rodriguez on the pitch, old school vibes a little bit for those who've been following this national team for quite some time. I don't know. I feel like the vibes are kind of high with Colombia right now, just with where they are, and Brazil's a little bit more of a question mark for me. So it's close, but I think Colombia will edge it out. And I think Brazil, if they get second, it won't be the end of the world. A lot of fans down there will probably think it is because just based on the expectation and the world-class talent that they have. But they can still make a deep run finishing second. It's going to be trickier for sure.
Especially if they match up with Uruguay.
Yeah, that'll be a game where they have to just treat it as if it were the Copa America final because there's just dealing with that team. I can only imagine, right, what it's like with all of those players coming at you with how impressive Uruguay have been in the last 12 to 18 months. So yeah, I mean it'll still be tough for them, but I still think that they're capable of making a run even if they finish second.
All right, before we end this Copa America group stage preview, every one of us have to pick a favorite to win this tournament. It could be the same, obviously. It's fine. So we'll start things with Jose. Who is your favorite to win Copa America?
Man, give me Uruguay. I think we're still, for whatever reason, still just maybe scratching the surface on what this team is fully capable of in a tournament setting. I also really back Marcelo Bielsa. I think as a manager, I don't know if he makes sense for like a club, a traditional club, just because tournament managers, we've seen it with Mourinho over the last I don't know how many years. The tactics and how they set up aren't necessarily the best for a 38 game season, but you give that man a small window in a tournament to motivate a group of highly talented players to go out there and just win by any means possible. I put Bielsa in that category. I think that he can do a lot with this group of players, and it just helps that this group of talented players are insane on paper. When you think about just how many game changers they have, everyone from Darwin to Araujo to Fedi to even Pellistri. Man, Pellistri looked like he had been balling for Uruguay for years against Mexico. Granted, it was Mexico, but with where they are right now. But still, I back this team. If they come out swinging and completely sweep the group, 9 points, not even close to U.S. on goal differential, I think that everyone else in this tournament's in for a long day.
I agree.
Yeah. I think that's a great pick there. As I said earlier, I think they were one of my favorites to begin with, even for dark horses. So, but I'm not going to go with them as my favorite to win the tournament. And I think the big reason why being obviously the mentality we talked about. And while it's gotten better for a lot of Uruguayan players, but Darwin at the front of that as the peak, if you will, the tip of the spear, trying to score, if he's not on even just for one game, that changes their entire fortune. With that in mind, as I just said in Brazil, though, you got 22 plus players in that team that you can literally start on probably every roster in this entire tournament. And I'm going to go with Brazil. I think they're my favorite. I don't think there's ever been a tournament where Brazil walks into and they're not a top 3 favorite for real. And this is another one where I look at it and it's like Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay, kind of toss up between the 3. And it all comes down to matchups where they end up at. If they win their group and they don't have to get matched up with Uruguay first round, I think it's even easier for them. But if they do get matched up with Uruguay, then obviously that's going to be the big test. But then after that, it's kind of smooth sailing till the finals, if you will. I mean, everybody they'd face until then would be not a Group A team. And so, namely Argentina. Basically, is what I'm saying.
Random question. Like how insane would it be if this was the one like top 20, top 15 matchup that Berhalter does win? They get second in the group. He lines up against that star-studded Brazil team and just like finds a way to shithouse a 2-1 win or a 1-0 win. Like what
This
would
would
happen?
definitely like I would say if Berhalter, which I don't see this happening, but if Berhalter somehow, and I would honestly say this would happen despite Berhalter. I would think the players will become the big factors that come into they might have to be like, look, man, let's just let him yell, but we're gonna play how we think we should be playing. Maybe that's the day where they just lock him up in the locker room and let BJ Callahan like call this match before
they go full varsity blues, like just yell at him in the locker room. He storms out by himself and they go out there and win. That'd be fucking hilarious.
Please sign me up for every moment of that.
I want the documentary.
Yeah.
But if that happens, I think that tops the Spain upset instantly.
Yeah, fair enough. I was going to call back to the Confederations Cup again, and that long run where they beat Brazil and ended up getting to Spain. But yeah, it's
that's right. They beat Brazil.
Beat Brazil to get defeated by Spain in the Confederations Cup. But yeah,
I remember.
Wait. What year was that? 09?
2009. Yeah.
Yeah. Before the 2010.
I think they beat Spain to get to Brazil.
Spain, then it got,
and then they
got shellacked.
No, they got costed. They were up like 2-0 and then they choked it. US lost 3-2. And that honestly, bro, that is the most like US shithousery result to like summarize this team to an extent. Like, I don't know. Anyway, I don't want to get depressed right now.
That's the exact same vibes I get there. Though they beat a team they shouldn't beat, just get wiped off the face of the planet in the next round.
Yeah,
and a not great Brazilian team back then too. Like, I mean, not that they're by Brazil's standards, not the greatest Brazilian team they could have played in that final, and they still found a way to choke a 2-0 lead. So, yeah.
Yep.
All right. So obviously, Kelcey picks Brazil. Jose picks Uruguay. My favorite, honestly, is it could go either way, and don't be distracted by the jersey. It was just coincidence. But and also it's a Di Maria jersey before anybody says, "Oh, he's got a Messi jersey on." Number 7, Di Maria. But that's not the point. But my favorite is actually going to be Uruguay. I think this team, its core is amazing. I think. You mentioned the maturity, at least the game maturity, not saying maturity of Darwin Nunez, but the game maturity of Darwin Nunez may not be there where we want it to be yet. The kid is so raw, and it's crazy to think, like we said plenty of times, once it finally just clicks onto him, he is going to be the nastiest player. And I mean, at that point, we're done talking about Holland, at least for a while. Obviously, I'm sure there's certain, what was it, Keane? They called him a League Two player. But yeah, Darwin Nunez, I think, but the thing is, I think his core players that he has, his midfield, his back line, I think it allows him to make those mistakes because of how well they are forming. And they just know all I got to do is put him in the right place and he'll put in the back of the net. Obviously, praise to Bielsa as well. I think he's the right guy in charge of this team. But it's time that we see some success from Uruguay. And obviously, I would just – where does Valverde land when it comes to the Ballon d'Or discussion will be hilarious. I don't think he's near it, but it's going to be a discussion that someone's going to throw up. Like I said, I think my favorite to win the Ballon d'Or is Vinny. I don't think anybody can change my mind. You can guys call me that one guy that goes to college to campuses and try to tell me to change my mind. But Vinny's winning. Vinny is going to win the Ballon d'Or. And
if Brazil wins it, he'll definitely win it. Like if he's impactful, of course, because if they get far and they go on to win it,
jersey bet. Jersey bet.
Oh God!
If Vinicius Jr. does not get the Ballon d'Or, I will do a jersey giveaway. Jesus Christ, what am I doing?
Well, look, I do have blank space right here over my shoulder. I could use a jersey. That's all I'm saying,
bro. Same.
Give me the Darwin number 9.
Hey, bro, low key, I will gladly take. I'm trying to think who here. Give me Give me a Caicedo Ecuador or Estupiñán Ecuador. I'll take either one of those. But yeah, bro, I think if Brazil wins it, Vinny is got to be the front runner. His only competition right now is Jude, and I think Jude and England are under massive pressure. It's not a Euros episode, but a massive pressure to win that tournament. Imagine they both win, and then like we're back to square fucking one. I don't see England winning the Euros. I don't see Brazil winning the Copa, but crazier shit has happened. So I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, I think Valverde loses out just on the pure fact of statistics. I think that's where everybody's going to overlook him purely on that. And yeah, Vinny has it all. Jude, obviously, we all know the impact of him. And I think that might be the only reason Jude might get it is because he came over from another team to do this versus Vinny. Well, he's been at Real Madrid waiting for a breakout year for what now, 3 years, 4 years. So finally gets that super breakout year. And unfortunately, his own teammate was a superstar transfer in his first year.
Yeah, true. I don't think anybody saw Jude having that kind of year. But I also think, too, if Eddie was going to be in it, the conversation, I think last year was actually more impactful for Madrid. I think what he did. And then if Copa America just on some weird wavelength was also happening last season with the form he was in, he'd probably be in that discussion. Like he really would fit. And Eddie was I think he was quiet this year. It's just that Toni Kroos kind of stepped back up in a weird way. Modric is Modric, right? But the midfield itself with Madrid just had other major talking points that didn't surround Valverde. So I think he's a phenomenal player, a world-class player. I just think they have so many of those players at Real Madrid that he kind of gets overshadowed a little bit. But
exactly.
Vinny, this needs to be his legacy tournament. With the year he's had and the running he's in now for the Ballon d'Or, I think he absolutely has to have that chip on his shoulder. And bro, he brought the hair out. I mean, shit, he brought the hair out. He's waiting to, I don't know, whip it on some people maybe. I don't know. We'll see. But one point about Uruguay that we didn't talk about either was, bro, isn't it crazy that Mexico could have had Bielsa? Isn't that wild to think?
Isn't it crazy that the U.S. could have had anybody? Anybody?
I don't think U.S. ever planned to grab anybody. I'll be honest. I think that they put on a good show for the whole world and just already knew they were going to bring Berhalter
just spend
back.
millions of dollars on a search committee. But
the U.S. Soccer Federation having a plan to not change anything after being told they were going to change something. No chance.
Trust, bro. They just wanted to wait until the Gio Reyna shit calmed down, and they're like, "All right, cool, Greg, go do your thing."
If Mexico's reasoning behind not getting Bielsa was because they were like, "Oh no, I don't want to deal with another Argentinian."
I think so. I think the fans also wanted that. They were like, "Nah, Tata fucking ruined this team because he doesn't care about Mexico." Like, I'm like, bro, the Argentina Mexico rivalry does not run that deep. It wouldn't be like hiring a former U.S. Soccer Federation manager. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of wild. But
depends on which manager, because they might take him in a heartbeat if it's the right one.
Let's be honest. What Mexico really wants to see is Piojo. That's what
True. I don't know, man. Mexico has a lot of shit to figure out. But I remember hearing that Bielsa was like in consideration, that ultimately they decided to pass on him. And now look at Uruguay. And I'm not saying Uruguay solely where they are because of Bielsa, but it's like I think he is a tried and true tournament manager. Like he really is, man. And I got a feeling they're gonna turn a lot of heads this summer.
Yeah. So summer of soccer is gonna be fun. June 20th kicks off Copa America, where we're gonna see Argentina just have the live execution of Canada. What a way to kick off this tournament.
Imagine Jesse Marsh masterclass. It'd be kind of crazy.
That would be insane.
Messi coming off a travel day potentially. Granted, it's in Atlanta, so I don't think it's that going to be that bad. But you never know. Messi coming off a travel day from the MLS a week and a half beforehand.
You know damn well that boy is not going to play.
He's not going to play in Canada, and then he's going to play in the next 2 games against Chile and Peru. That's crazy to think.
But so June 20th, Copa America. Get ready, man. I'm super excited. I can't wait to see how this tournament progresses on, man. But Kelcey, Jose, thank you so much. Kelcey, this is your time to shine. Go ahead and tell the people where they can find you.
You cannot find my food reviews online yet. We haven't gotten to that point yet. But you can find the rest of my content over at High-Low Sports or at high_low_sports on Twitter. I guess now it's X. And then we are live every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern time on all our social medias. And then you can catch the video replay and audio replay the next morning on Thursday at 8 a.m., whether it be on YouTube or on any one of the platforms you catch audio.
Nice. Jose, you got to tell people what's going on over there at Golz TV.
Hell yeah, bro. Yeah, I'll keep it short and sweet. Golz TV, guys, got a lot of new content coming, whether you're watching TST right now, the soccer tournament over in North Carolina, or you're tuning into Copa America and Euros. I know on our YouTube channel, Golz TV's YouTube channel, we're going to do everything from live watch-alongs to predictions, betting, and fantasy content, all for the Euros and for the Copa. So if you guys loved this preview that we did for Insert Name FC, guys, go check it out on our YouTube channel. Again, Golz TV is the YouTube channel. A lot of stuff coming, a massive summer of footy. And outside of that, if you want to find Insert Name FC or any shows like them, head over to golz.tv, GOLZ.tv, create an account, subscribe, and keep tuning in. I appreciate it.
All right. So take a break and then I don't know. I haven't really planned out this episode yet. So whatever happens, this is where you maybe it's a conclusion. Maybe there's going to be some more footy talk. I don't know. I'm literally going as I go. But hey, World Cup preview. Copa America preview. I am so tired. All right.
You're good, bro.
All right.
You're good. What a wrap up.
Hey everyone, it's Ryan from No Credentials Required to talk to you about one of our newest partners at BellyUpSports, SeatGeek. Yeah, live sports is great on television, but the feeling of being at the arena is a priceless experience. That's why our friends at SeatGeek are there to help you find the best tickets at the best prices. Not only can you get tickets to sporting events, but you can also get tickets to concerts, comedy shows, musicals, and more. Search for your desired event now at SeatGeek.com, enter promo code BellyUpSports at checkout, and you save $20 off your first purchase. SeatGeek. Life's an event. We have the tickets.
All right, guys. Well, I want to thank Peter Spencer from Belly Up Fantasy. Go ahead and check out Belly Up Fantasy with all the things when it comes to betting, fantasy sports. They got you covered over there. So go ahead and check them out, Belly Up Fantasy. Check them out on Instagram and the X at Belly Up Fantasy. Thanks for coming on to talk to Euro. Thank you to Kelcey Coin. Obviously, Kelcey Coin, also a member of Belly Up Sports. Go ahead and check out High Low Sports, man. Great discussions with all sports. As you know, obviously, we have the NBA finals going on, NHL playoffs going on. So I don't know if they really talk hockey, but I know they're going to talk about the NBA. So if you guys want to know what's going on with the NBA, I mean, Boston right now, as I'm recording this, are up 2-0 in the series. So we'll see if the Mavericks can get some games back in here as they head back to Texas. Jose Tejas, man. Speaking of Texas, Jose Tejas, check him out. Golz TV. So okay, that's weird. Golz TV, man. It's an awesome website, man. All the soccer content that you want to see across the great country of the United States and Canada. There's some Canadian content there as well. If you guys want to see our perspective on the game, you know, especially if you're from abroad and you're not entirely sure of what the American perspective is, well, go ahead and check out Golz TV. You'll find a lot of it. If you're an MLS fan and looking for content for your specific MLS team, you're going to find it there. MLS in general. Or if you're a USL fan and need some USL content, well, USL is there. And Golz TV has partnered with Indy 11, a USL club. So go ahead and check out a lot of content. Like I said, great content over there at Golz TV. Also, check out BellyUpSports, man. That's obviously our family, our network. Lots of, like I said, NBA Finals, NHL playoffs, the Olympics is coming up. So there is going to be a lot of things going on over there at BellyUpSports. If you guys need more information on the sports, great articles are constantly being written over there at BellyUpSports. So go ahead and check it out. BellyUpSports.com. Check them out on Instagram and X at BellyUpSports and at BellyUpMedia. And I mean, thank you to Roosevelt Spencer, man. If you guys like the intros and outros that you hear for our episodes, well, Spencer is the guy. So go ahead and follow him on Instagram at ThatGuyDope. Once again, at ThatGuyDope. If you guys need some beat work done, he'll take good care of you like he always does with us. So that's episode 179. Holy shit. Episode 179. Catch us when I come back from vacation for episode 180. But for until then on, enjoy the Euros, enjoy Copa America, because it's gonna be a lot of fun. Take care, guys.
Where's that guy?